California, what's going on? This is hour one of Jon and Jim on remote edition. So I remain in Las Vegas. Jim remains in San Diego, and we are with you for the next 4 hours. Now, you can watch us on where are we? On YouTube. I was going to say on StreamYard, but you can't go to StreamYard.
You cannot go to StreamYard because that's our account, unless we get everybody the account.
Now, I am at iHeart Las Vegas, which I've been before, but I'm in a cubicle because I just have the equipment that we used for the radio broadcast yesterday when Ted was on the air for San Diego State, Boise State. So I'm in a cubicle in Las Vegas. Jim is in our studio in San Diego. We got a really good show lined up for our listeners here today, Jim, and that includes the ticket giveaway for San Diego FC for Saturday, which means we're going to qualify someone every hour once again today for a chance to win 2 free tickets for Saturday's match against the Columbus Crew. We already have 2 grand qualifiers. We'll have 4 more qualifiers during the show today. One of the qualifiers today is then entered for a chance to win, again, 2 free tickets to see San Diego FC against Columbus Crew. Now, what are we listening for today, Jim, for a chance to win those tickets for Saturday?
I would say the sounder that we've been playing all the time for your chance to win, John.
Okay, so you're going to be listening for an Adrian Garcia Marquez goal call. And when you hear that, Brent, you have it? You want to play it now? Don't call when you hear this, but this is what it sounds like.
San Diego FC!
All right, so don't call now, but the next time you hear that, you're going to hear it once an hour. And when you hear that, call 877-767-4760, and you are then entered for a chance to win 2 free tickets to see SDFC on Saturday night. Max Britos, who is an announcer for MLS Season Pass, is going to join us at 5:30. We'll get into this weekend's match. Kevin Acee will join us from Peoria, where there's all types of conversations to be had. There really are. So Kevin will join us coming up at 5 p.m. Padres play at night tonight. They also have that showcase game going on this afternoon. We have to get one more bracketologist on. We're going to start there, obviously. Now, Stacey Terry Hudson will join us at 2:30 because what they did this past week in Las Vegas should be celebrated. The Aztecs women's team is in the tournament for the first time since 2012. Me and you were watching that in disbelief 2 nights ago, Jim.
Not disbelief, but just like this game will never end.
Triple overtime.
Yeah.
It was disbelief because the championship game to go to triple overtime was pretty incredible. So she'll join us coming up at 2:30, and then we have to have a bracketologist, and we have to start there.
I get it. I understand.
And Rocco Miller is one of the best, and he's joined us a couple of times this winter, and he'll join us again. And really, the final weekday before Selection Sunday, which is Sunday afternoon. I mean, let's just start with yesterday. And let's get it all out of the way. Was it disappointing? Of course. Were you hopeful that they were going to win that game? Absolutely. Had they won 17 consecutive quarterfinal games? Yeah, I didn't mention it one time on the pregame because it's the ultimate jinx. Yeah, I've said this, Jim. For the 8 years I've been doing this with San Diego State men's basketball, I'll never say numbers like that because you're just waiting for the other shoe to drop. You've won 9 straight, 10 straight, 12 straight, 15 straight. So it didn't go their way. And now you hold your breath and you cross your fingers, and it's in the hands of a selection committee. That's how this sport works. Not every team wins their conference title, and that's where San Diego State is right now. I guess I'll start with that for you, Jim. Is what they have done in your mind going to be enough or not? And we'll find out in 48 hours.
So in these situations, I tend to go to people that are smarter than me on this topic.
So Aaron?
Aaron's smarter than me on everything. But no, I look at other people that like you, but not you, that cover this and say this. So Jeff Borzello, he's an ESPN college basketball insider.
Right.
He wrote this yesterday, and I sent you this tweet. And you're like, okay. But he was talking about San Diego State, Boise State, and their matchup. And after the game ended, Boise obviously won. He said San Diego State was in a precarious position before today. Boise State was on the outside looking in. In a purely head-to-head comparison, San Diego State won 2 of 3 head-to-head matchups. Boise beat Clemson and St. Mary's. San Diego State beat Houston, Creighton, and UCSD. SDSU has the superior metrics. So when it feels like it's 50-50, I'm sure you might do the same thing. Like you go to people to give you confidence and reassure that everything's going to be okay. Now, again, there could be bid stealers. The conference tournament games are still happening right now. Conference championship games will be on tomorrow and Sunday afternoon before the selection show that will air right here live on San Diego Sports 760 at 3 p.m. I think to me, it feels 50-50. Like that there could be bid stealers that push them out, and there could be no bid stealers or a couple of bid stealers and they're still in. At this point in time, I think you might feel the same way. I don't care where they're slotted.
Yep.
If they're playing in Dayton in the playing game on Tuesday or Wednesday, or they're a 10 seed on Thursday or Friday, whatever it is, I don't care. This is probably the first time in 5 years where I'm like, I don't care where they're slotted. I just don't. If they make it, they make it, and that's all that matters.
You said it perfectly. You're spot on. I think it's a true coin flip. Like, and I don't know if you heard any of my post game yesterday.
I did.
And you know how the reaction is on the text. I get it. I mean, I know
Sky's
the reaction
falling.
of
Everything's
Padres
awful.
fans and I get it. I mean, like, this matters, which is good. It's like when the Padres lose in the postseason, or the Aztecs lose in the postseason, or again, you're on the bubble and you might be on the outside looking in it. Here is the one thing where I kind of draw a line is when people are like, it's over, they're done, what a disappointment, this is unbelievable, how could this happen? I'm like, this is a complete moving target. This isn't the baseball postseason where we're like, hey, there's 3 wild cards. It's going to take a win on this Sunday and a St. Louis loss to get in. That's a definitive statement. If the Padres beat the A's on this Sunday afternoon, they're in the postseason, right? Or they're out, because we're going to know 89 wins is enough, or it's not enough. We don't know what a 12-person selection committee, Jim, is going to do. We also don't know, to your point, the best point is that there are bid stealers. And if there's a lot of them like last year, that gobbles up at-large candidates, potentially like San Diego State. If there are fewer of those, it allows teams like San Diego State to potentially be in the field. You know those like memes where it's like, who you're rooting for? I don't even know who to root for, dude. And this is like, this is my true passion. You know, March Madness Selection Sunday, it's a moving target. It is a moving target. You might need this break, but you might want this break. And, you know, I don't even want to get into all the particulars, even though you know I do. But you can't control what's outside of, like, your own control, right? Mm-hmm. Like, San Diego State could only control what they did on floor. They don't have a control over whether New Mexico beats Boise State. They don't control whether Tennessee beats Texas. They don't control whether UC San Diego wins or loses. You know what I mean? So you just got to, it's like, show me the sausage, not how it's made. Like, let's fast forward to Sunday at 3 p.m. Now I'll have a better feel if there's less bids stolen, and I'll have a worse feel if more bids are stolen. But for anyone to think they have a definitive answer as we sit here on Friday afternoon, I think probably they're misspoken. Or speaking out of turn, so to speak, because we don't even know, Jim. We can't predict the future. We don't know how this is going to play out over the next 48 hours around the country.
We don't. I still think they have a pretty solid resume to make it as an at-large. You know, I'm seeing people in the chat like, Jim, don't sugarcoat this. This was embarrassing. Like, what? Are you serious? But by the way, they were without Magoon Guath yesterday, and they were underdogs against Boise State. Yeah. It's not like they lost to Air Force. I mean, give me a break.
Good point.
Like, again, like you said, the overreaction from people and Aztecs fans. And I look at it as this. I actually look at the overreaction and this is the worst thing ever, and as a good thing, because the last thing you want is people to just not give a crap and people to be like, oh, whatever, next year's next year. Like, no, you want people to be passionate and upset and you know, feeling the way they feel, because that means that this program has set expectations at a very high level. And I love that. And that's why, and me and you, the first day we got on air is like, that's what we want. We want fans out there in San Diego to have to hold their teams to a standard and an expectation, because that's what me and you are going to do. We're going to hold the Padres to a level and a standard. And if they don't meet that, then guess what? We're going to tell you about it. San Diego State, if they don't meet that standard, we're going to tell you about it. And that's a good thing that Dutch has done. And that's what I think, if you're a fan, you want. The last thing you want is to just like not care, right? You just don't like who wants to just not care? That doesn't make any sense to me in sports.
I think one of the issues, I think that's well said, Jim. I think one of the issues with college basketball is that the only thing that matters to a lot of people is March Madness. Get it? Right? Like, a lot of people haven't tuned in until the middle of March or until this time of year. And basically that alone is the criteria. And San Diego State has maintained that high bar for 20 years. They really have. Like, go look back. I'm not talking to Jim, but to our listeners, but look at what they've done under Steve Fisher and Brian Dutcher. You know, they have 4 Sweet 16 since 2011. Indiana has 3 since 1994, and Indiana's a blue blood. So, again, I don't think it necessarily needs our defense, the program. But, when you don't reach that bar, of course, there's going to be disappointment. And we don't even know if they haven't reached that bar. And how many times did we say, Jim, I remember saying day one of the season, man, they're young. There are going to be ups and downs here, and this is not going to be a straight line. And I honestly believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, I honestly believe if you were looking everyone in the mirror, did most people think San Diego State's preseason expectations were actually to get to the NCAA tournament when Reese Waters went out? Was that the actual, real, truth serum expectation? Now, again, now that you're there and you can touch it and taste it, you want to get there. But to say that 21-10 or whatever it is,
22-10,
22-10,
or 22-9?
No, they got their 10th loss. I think it's 21-10.
Oh, I thought it was 22-10. Maybe.
Someone look that up.
You would know better than me. We'll go
21.
We'll go 21-10.
I mean, 21-10. Listen, what do we say? Highs and lows. The highs were Houston and Creighton. The lows were they got swept by UNLV. The highs were sweeping Boise. The low was losing to Boise yesterday. It was exactly what we thought it would be. I still think it was a really good coaching job, regardless of how it ends. And if they're the 69th team, does that mean what an utter failure as opposed to if they're the 68th team? No, but that's how people are going to define it. So I don't know what to say about it other than I wasn't surprised by the result. I knew Boise State had everything to play for like San Diego State. I knew that they had beaten them twice. The Aztecs had in the regular season. I knew it was going to be tough. And now I know that we're going to be waiting. And it's going to be a long 48 hours. I said yesterday it's going to be a long 70 hours. Mm-hmm. Well, now it's a long 49 hours until 3 p.m. on Sunday. And as you said, something you can hear right here on San Diego Sports 760, the selection show.
I got 21-9, John.
21-9?
That's what it says. Boise was 22-9 going in.
Yeah, heading in though, right?
Yeah, San Diego State was 20-8 going in, or 21-8 going in.
Okay, so their 9th loss. Okay, yeah, I think you're right. 21-9. Yeah, people are putting that in the chat. Thank you.
Again, it's one of those things that, of course, you would have loved to see them beat Boise yesterday, and they played well. I mean, but they have no one else to blame but themselves for that game. You had an 11-point lead in the first half, and it wasn't early in the first half. It was like you could have gone into the break with a double-digit lead, and then they let Boise hit a couple threes, and now it's down to, 4 or 5 at half?
Yep.
5, and I think you said this on the postgame. That might have been where the turning point of the game happened. And also, too, look, it was a dangerous strategy for Boise yesterday to just chuck a million threes.
Crazy. I couldn't believe it.
But guess what? I mean, it worked. And, the offensive rebounds was awful. I can't blame free throws of this game because it wasn't like they missed 25 free throws. But it was offensive rebounds. Boise made a bunch of threes, even though they shot a bunch of threes, but they made a bunch of threes, which was very surprising because without Magoon Guath, you might think why would they be shooting threes? Maybe that was their plan going in, thinking no matter what, we're doing this, right? But yeah, they have no one to blame but themselves for that loss yesterday. And again, I think people have to also remember, the win would have probably stamped them not firmly in, but mostly in 75%, 80% chance they make the tournament. But also it's not like the worst case scenario of if they had to play San Jose State and they lost to San Jose State or Air Force or something. No, they lost to a bubble team that they beat twice in the regular season, and they have a better resume than them. So now what you do is just sit and you pray that Boise or Colorado State do not win the Mountain West Conference tournament.
100%. 100%.
We are huge New Mexico and Utah State fans this weekend.
Yeah, wear the hats of your rivals.
Yes.
The true rivals. All right, on the other side, let's hear from Brian Dutcher. We'll hear from Nick Boyd. Do the coaches and players think it's a failure if they're not in the NCAA tournament? Stacey Terry Hudson, head coach of the Aztecs women's program, will join us at 2:30. Much more on what John Seidler had to say when he was introduced essentially to San Diego by Kevin Acee 2 days ago in the UT. We're here until 6 p.m. Be listening for that San Diego FC sounder for a chance to qualify to win tickets for Saturday against the Columbus Crew. It's Jon and Jim. right, who's in, who's out? Tune in to San Diego Sports 760 Sunday at 3 for the Selection Sunday show hosted by Jason Horowitz and former longtime coach, NBA college coach as well, PJ Carlissimo. Find out the fate of this year's bubble teams that include San Diego State, obviously, Sunday at 3 on San Diego Sports 760. Be listening for that sounder, by the way, for a chance to qualify to win San Diego FC tickets for Saturday. That's tomorrow against the Columbus Crew. Jim, have you heard any of this sound from the Aztecs postgame or not? I'm actually curious to get your reaction after you hear it if you haven't.
No, I haven't.
Right, good.
I was listening to the postgame yesterday, but I know that the sound came in later. So
yes, it did. So I didn't play a postgame, so I'm glad. I want to get your reaction. This is, you'll hear the question and the answer. It's about, like, is it a disappointment if you're not in? I think it came from Mark Seidler. The response is from Nick Boyd, the Aztecs point guard, the transfer from FAU. Take a listen to this back and forth on the season so far.
Given the expectations of this program, is it a failure if you don't make the NCAA tournament? Is that how you guys view it? You know, knowing how many times this program's been, or is this season a success if you make the NIT?
I mean, I wouldn't say it's a failure. I mean, you can ask a bunch of teams around the country how hard it is to play postseason basketball. Like, that's not an easy thing. I mean, obviously, like you said, the program throws around postseason basketball like it's nothing. But if you ask a bunch of teams around the country, it's not easy to play postseason basketball. So for the group we have, our talent, we're talented enough to be in the tournament, whether in the NIT or the March Madness tournament. I'm going to be happy and I'm grateful to have the opportunity to continue to have more games with this team and keep building to something special.
From his answer, I can tell what he kind of get what he was saying, but it sounded like at the beginning he said, I would say it's a failure.
No, he wouldn't.
Okay.
Is
all
what
right.
He said. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, because I have the transcript. He said he wouldn't.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
And by everything else he
by
said.
what he said.
Yeah,
exactly.
You could tell.
Yep.
I love Nick Boyd.
Me
I think
too.
this guy is a natural born leader. You can tell by the way he plays on the court and his just, words after tough losses like last night. And I know that he hasn't 100% said that he's coming back next year, but we've talked to him. You hear by his what he says post games, like he knows that this is a work in progress still, and it's not just a one and done. And I feel like, when and if he does announce that he will return next year, that's where they're really building is okay, laying the groundwork with this young team as he's the leader of, and getting to the spot where they want to, which is a deep run into March Madness, whether it be this year or next year. I love everything about Nick Boyd, and every time he speaks, you just know this dude's a leader.
I think you're spot on 100%. I mean, and it is it's easy for people in the media. I mean, and we're included. It's easy to be like, man, how could you? And we don't even know what happened Sunday, but how could you be in this position and be on the outside looking in? And then Nick's like, I mean, look around, man. I mean, North Carolina's on the outside looking in. Yeah. Texas is on the outside looking in. It's not easy. I'm not saying that, again, the expectation isn't reasonable. I think it's a reasonable expectation to hope that San Diego State is getting to the tournament based on what they've done. But that doesn't make it easy. Yeah, Duke's number one. North Carolina's won national titles. And North Carolina right now is going to need to maybe beat Duke to get into the NCAA tournament. I want to hear from Dutch, because Dutch confirmed something post-game that I do think is relevant to the committee. And you'll hear what he has to say here about Magoon Guath. It's in an answer about rebounding. Listen to what he says about Magoon Guath moving forward should the Aztecs play another game. Listen to this.
Coach, you've said that you can either try to teach rebounding or you just have to go get a rebounder who knows how to rebound and just innate. Going through this experience, so much of the focus, with looking towards next season has been retaining this roster, but going through this experience again tonight, is it just harden your thoughts that you have to go get a rebounder in the portal?
I think we had a rebounder. Unfortunately, he hasn't played the last 6 games. His name's Magoon Guath, and he was freshman of the year in the Mountain West and first team or the defensive player of the year. So we've done a good job playing without him. It's not easy, but we don't make excuses. But obviously, everybody knows we're a better team with him on the floor. And so we have a rebounder, and we were hoping to use him this weekend. He warmed up. Was not able to go, said it felt good, pain-free, but we always err on the side of caution. So our intention is to have him ready for the first game in postseason. So whether it's the NCAA tournament or not, time will tell. but I think everybody would fear playing the Aztecs with the freshman of the year on the court.
Yeah, that's one of those things where you're like, I hope the committee looks at the fact that Magoon was out for the last 6 games and, how they were kind of catching their stride, right? And then he goes down in that Utah State game, and will they finish 3-3?
3-3 down the stretch.
3-3 down the stretch. So, guy was named freshman of the year in the Mountain West Conference, defensive player of the year in the Mountain West Conference. I hope that has, some impact on the committee going forward.
Yeah, I agree. We'll see. I mean, we'll find out within 48 hours, but he did essentially confirm that if the Aztecs continue playing on, Magoon Guath is part of their plans to play. He did dress and warm. He was shooting. He was going through layup drills. He had the knee brace on. But as Dutch always said, they're never going to jeopardize a player's health. I mean, literally, the season's on the line. They're not jeopardizing his health.
Right.
I mean, it could be the difference between winning and losing. They're not going to jeopardize his health. Yeah. All right. Let's catch up with Stacey Terry Hudson. She has taken her program to the NCAA tournament for the first time in her tenure at San Diego State. A remarkable 3 days in Vegas for them. Beat the top seed UNLV, won a triple overtime championship game to get to the NCAA tournament. Plus, be listening for that sounder for a chance to qualify to win San Diego FC tickets against the Columbus Crew for tomorrow night at Snapdragon Stadium. Jon and Jim until 6 p.m. Stay with us.
All right, this update is brought to you by Rapid Radio. San Diego State lost their opening round game in the Mountain West Conference Tournament yesterday against Boise. They'll now wait for Selection Sunday to hear if their name will be called. You can listen to that selection show right here on San Diego Sports 760 Sunday afternoon at 3 p.m. And San Diego FC plays Columbus Crew tomorrow night at Snapdragon Stadium. 7:30 is when the match gets underway. Our pregame starts at 7 p.m. right here with Adrian Garcia Marquez and Darren Smith on San Diego Sports 760. Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage and no subscription ever. A great alternative to a mobile phone for your kids. For a limited time, go to rapidradios.com now for 60% off and free UPS shipping. Add code radio and get an extra 5% off today.
All right, Jon and Jim back with you, and it's our pleasure to welcome back to the show Stacey Terry Hudson, head coach of the women's basketball program on the Mesa that is heading to the NCAA tournament for the first time since 2012, following that thrilling week in Las Vegas that included victories over the top seed in the event, UNLV, and then, of course, that triple overtime thriller against Wyoming that was just unbelievable. I was watching on my phone, traveling to Las Vegas Wednesday night. I was with my 6-year-old. We didn't put him to sleep until the game ended. He wouldn't go to sleep until he knew if they won or lost. What a night it was for San Diego State. Coach, first of all, just congratulations. And secondly, what is it like riding the emotions as a coach in a game like that and trying to control your demeanor and help push your team over the top?
It was so much fun to be a part of. And I was just thinking it was really great for the conference, really great for women's basketball, and obviously really great for San Diego State. It was really fun to be a part of, just trying to stay poised and to make sure our girls could stay focused on what was at hand. And, I just thought we battled and were really, really tough and just got it done when we needed to. We got stops when we needed to and was able to make free throws down the stretch.
You've been here for a long time, and to finally, get that moment here and cutting down the nets, what was that moment like for you to climb that ladder? And after all the hard work that you've put in, the last 3 seasons, 20 plus wins here with the women's team, to cut down that net, be on top of that ladder, what'd that feel like?
It was an amazing feeling, but I was thinking of 2 groups of people. Number one, the young ladies that really got us to this level, before I got here, when they were winning championships and doing great things at San Diego State, all the people that put on a San Diego State Aztec uniform, and then also the young ladies that played for me that really helped us build. And, it's a thing for all of us. I love the text that I'm getting, and every response to them is, you helped us get here and you have a piece of this success. So just really proud of all the young ladies that have put an Aztec uniform on.
Stacey Terry Hudson with us right now on Jon and Jim. Her women's basketball program is heading to the NCAA tournament. They'll learn their opponent on Sunday at 5 p.m. I guess I'll jump there actually for a moment. What is that experience going to be like for you and your staff to be with your players for something that I think every college athlete dreams of, having the opportunity to play in postseason play like your team's going to have this year?
It's just they're so excited, and it's really a kind of an unbelievable moment, and you're kind of just trying to catch your breath and soak it all in, but excited to keep playing, right, and prepare for our next opponent. We know it's going to be someone that's going to be really, really tough and probably going to have to play on their home floor. So that being said, we're just looking forward to the opportunity to be playing in March is a blessing.
Was there one point in the first overtime, second over, you're like, okay, will this game ever end? I mean, you guys are in the third overtime here. How was that as far as taxing on you mentally? In that point, you're like, all right, we got to keep this thing together. We cannot go down and lose at this moment in a third overtime.
It was a great basketball game.
Yeah.
Not a lot of, I think we scored 6 points in the fourth quarter and they scored 4. I mean, there wasn't a lot of offensive firepower, going back and forth, but it was 17 lead changes and 14 ties. Yeah. And it was just a good basketball game. And I thought both teams were playing their hearts out. But I was ready for it to be over. I have a funny story for you. One of the players, as we go into the third quarter, she says, "How many more minutes?" And I said, we got 5 more minutes. That's overtime.
Yeah.
And then she said to me, and then what, sudden death? And I said, no, it's not AAU, honey. We got to finish this. We got to finish this thing. So they were so exhausted, but excited for the opportunity. I love that story. I was like, no, not sudden death. We're going to keep playing.
That is hilarious.
That's funny.
Stacey Terry Hudson with us. Her Aztecs are heading to the NCAA tournament for the first time since 2012. Correct me if I'm wrong, Coach. I mean, you did this with defense this year. I mean, opponents scored 60 points a game against you. You held your opponents to 38% shooting this year. You were able to retain a lot of your roster, obviously, which maybe gave you that head start heading into the year, but you've added some really promising young players as well. But you're not in this spot without the level of defense that you played this year, right?
Of course. I mean, just taking a page out of what's been successful for our men for so many years. Offense is sometimes fleeting, but you got to be consistent on the defensive end. And my associate head coach did a deep dive into all the areas that we needed to improve going into the season, and it's really been an emphasis this year. So just paying attention to the details, trying to defend the three-point line at a high level, and getting back in transition. And so many teams need transition points to win. So we were focusing on taking care of the ball and making sure we were getting back. And that's been kind of the secret sauce for us on the defensive end.
Veronica Sheffy named the Mountain West Conference Tournament MVP, but I feel like the MVP of the championship game was Callie Clark. I mean, she had a fantastic game for you guys. 12 points, 17 rebounds. Can you just talk about, your performance in that game going up against the Mountain West Conference Player of the Year on Wyoming?
That's what I was going to say. You mentioned, the rebounds and the points, but the defense, as far as I'm concerned, it was the best part of her game. I mean, holding Allison Fertig to under her average is a feat in itself, but I will say this, the game plan was to make sure that we started playing post defense from the perimeter, making it challenging to get the ball to her. So our guards did a good job to kind of buy her some time to make sure she was in a great position to defend. But she did a really good job just keeping the ball out of her hands as much as she could. And when she did catch it, we had a game plan to kind of, double, swarm, single, make her think about it every time. And I think most impressive is she had 8 turnovers, and that's a testament to the team game plan.
Stacey Terry Hudson with us right now, head coach of the Aztecs women's basketball team heading to the NCAA tournament. They'll learn their first round opponent on Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific. I need to read some of these notes on Callie Clark. I know you've seen it, but in some of the post-game materials from San Diego State and your sports information department, which does such a good job. Like the first player in Mountain West history to have a game with at least 15 rebounds, 6 steals, and 2 blocks. The only Division I player this century to have a conference tournament game with at least 17 rebounds, 6 steals, and 3 blocks. The first Aztecs since 1999 with 10 points, 15 rebounds, 5 steals against a Division I opponent. I mean, you talk about a night to have a night, and it's kind of to further on Jim's point. You can't play better than that, can you?
Well, and most importantly, she came to San Diego State from Colorado State, where she really didn't have a chance to kind of show what she can do. So being able to do that on the highest stage in probably the biggest game of her career, I'm just so happy for her and her family that she was able to have that opportunity and play so well. I mean, she's just a great human being. If I can find a way to keep her longer, I need to figure out some waivers to try to keep her on the Mesa longer. But just really proud of her because she stepped into those shoes and did a really good job. Really good job. She was the MVP of that championship game.
And I mentioned Veronica Sheffy, the MVP of the conference tournament. She played 51 minutes the other night, which is incredible to see on a box score, especially in college basketball. Can you just talk about how she stepped up here and elevated her game in some of the biggest moments and led you guys, to your Mountain West Conference championship?
Absolutely. She's just a competitor. She studies film. She watches film before the game. She's always prepared. She knows what we're trying to do. As far as a game plan, she's just always locked in. And I thought she just hit some really big shots for us to kind of keep us in the game, to put us ahead. Obviously, some clutch free throws down the stretch. But not only that, she's guarding the opponent's best guard all the time. So, I mean, she has so many hats that she has to wear for us. And she was locked in the entire night. Just an unbelievable human being, great teammate, just competes at the highest level, and she's deserving of all the accolades that she's getting. She just had a really good tournament and was the driving force for us getting this done.
Can you take us back to the portal, because it's not fully unique. I mean, obviously she goes from the University of San Diego to San Diego State, where she was a very good player as a torero. I look at the men's program. Wayne McKinney III obviously went from San Diego to San Diego State. But can you take us through that moment? Like, what was it about San Diego State that made it appealing for her to join you on this quest? I'm sure you sold her on the opportunity to come in and help guide a team to the postseason, and that comes to fruition, a half a year later, whatever it was.
That's exactly it. She was one of the pieces that we needed to take another step.
Yeah.
And we were very attracted to her when we saw her in the portal, because she gave us the business. She played a great game against us when we played over there. So we knew what she was capable of. But she was a missing piece. We went to the championship game the year before without a point guard. And we needed some people to come in and really help us handle the ball. So you obviously know about Naomi Ponganiban, our San Diego's standout. We knew we had her coming in. Natalia Martinez was going to come in and help handle the ball. But we still needed another guard to help there. And we just thought Veronica would be great in that spot. So lucky to have her. She just I was hoping that, she would stay. She was thinking about leaving San Diego, but I think she's in love with the city and just moving across town. And with the pieces we had, I think she saw this being an opportunity for her, and I'm really glad she stayed.
Well, we're excited for you, Coach. Again, a long time coming, well-deserved. Your program has been on the rise. Like Jim said, 70 wins now over the last 3 years. A Mountain West Tournament Championship. Selection Sunday awaits. If you're an Aztec fan, we talk about it with the men all the time. You want to keep this women's team together? Go to Mesa. Mesa-Aztecs.org. Believe me, I'm sure Stacey Terry Hudson would agree that NIL is going to play a role in keeping this team together. You want to think about the here and the now, but as a coach, I know you got one eye on the future as well, and we know that NIL is an important part of the equation for you as well.
100%. We need all the help we can get. We got a great group of young women who are obviously very talented basketball players, but awesome young women, the kind of people that we want to keep in our program and help keep building.
Stacey, for a few weeks longer, but thanks again for joining us.
Of course. Thanks for having us.
All right, Stacey Terry Hudson. All right, we can react to that on the other side. Plus, we're going to get back to the men, again, losing yesterday to Boise State. And then, of course, we're going to get to the Padres as well. We've got a great show for you. Be listening for that sounder, the goal call from Adrian Garcia Marquez. The next time you hear it, call 877-767-4760 for a chance to qualify to win 2 free tickets to see San Diego FC tomorrow night at Snapdragon Stadium. This is Jon and Jim. All right, Jon and Jim back with you. San Diego Sports 760. I have a problem, Jim. You know this.
Well, hold on. Let me guess.
Yeah.
Don't let me guess. There is something technically
No.
wrong with your setup.
No. Like, let me rephrase. Like, I have a problem. Like, what's a problem that Jon has? Not a problem.
Oh! You can't stop looking at net rankings and metrics and
so
brackets.
At the break there, I was listening to some video.
Of course you were.
Break down like San Diego State's positioning.
I mean, you can listen to it after the show.
Yeah, I can, but I need it now. It's kind of like if, like, here's the analogy to you. It's like if Hulk Hogan announces he's going to be in like a triple cage match on AEW on Saturday night against The Rock, and the ref is going to be like Mark McGuire.
Actually, that would be hilarious. But it would also never happen.
Exactly. But you know what I mean? It would be like if there was something big happening. Well, yeah, right. Like if there was something huge, let's say WrestleMania's like field was about to be announced. What does that even mean?
Field?
Like the matchups. Like we're gonna get this guy versus this guy.
What are you talking about?
I don't. You get my point. It's something that you care about.
All right, I'll say this: if during the show, a new trailer dropped for like Avengers Doomsday,
perfect.
Then I would have to during the breaks watch all these reaction videos and breakdowns and
You love that stuff.
Yeah, there we go. We found a common ground.
I love it. Okay, I want to hear more sound here from yesterday afternoon, following San Diego State, Boise State. This is the head coach of the Broncos. By the way, be listening for that sounder for a chance to win San Diego FC tickets on Saturday against the Columbus Crew. We're qualifying one listener every hour from now through our 5 o'clock hour. Also, Kevin Acee's on the show later today. Rocco Miller, bracketologist, will join us coming up at 4:30. But this was Leon Rice postgame. He's the head coach of Boise State. They beat San Diego State and move on. And you'll hear the question and his answer. It's about the state of the Mountain West. Listen to this.
Well, what is one word to describe the Mountain West Conference basketball?
Underrated. I think underrated, because that team we just played is, when you say, sometimes you can throw that out there and say, well, they can beat anybody. Well, they beat a number one seed already in Houston, and they beat Creighton. They've got a resume that's terrific. And the only reason maybe we're not getting the national respect that we've gotten recently is because our numbers aren't as high, just because of the way the numbers are with some of the bottom numbers that we played this year. And so, in those numbers, there's lies, there's damn lies, and there's the net.
Did you catch that? There's
lies in the net.
There's lies, there's damn lies, and then there's the net, which is a really interesting thing for a head coach on the bubble to say, but I tend to agree with him and we have this conversation all the time, Jim. It's like you beat someone, but did you win by enough? Or you lost to someone, but man, you allowed those final 4 points. That was really caught. Like you would have lost by 4, but you fouled, and now you ended up losing by 8. I guess the question would be this: is it too metric? Like, is like too much put in these random numbers when I reference, the net, San Diego State's 51st and Boise's this. Like, should we be using more of like, well, who did you beat? What's your record? What do you look like? Or should it be, hey, this team's 37th. How can you leave them out? They're 37th.
I think you would agree. It should be a combination of both.
Right.
It can't be so heavily reliant on things that have made you go crazy, like rankings and KenPom and net. Like it's making you a mess. Like right, it is making you an absolute mess.
Definitely.
And it shouldn't be about that. Like all about that. It should maybe a little bit. Like you have to have some type of numbers involved in your resume, but you look at their resume and you look at their wins and losses and you look at who they've beaten and who they've lost to. They have really no awful losses on their resume. They have a couple losses that you don't like to see, like at home versus UNLV for sure. But like, and against UNLV on the road as well. But like all in all, they went 8-0 against the bottom of the Mountain West Conference. Their only losses came to top teams and then UNLV, of course.
Yeah.
And then they had probably one of the best non-conference schedules in America. And they have wins over Houston and Creighton in their non-conference. Like that's and watching this team every night, the eye test, right? Do they pass the eye test? Yeah, they're a tournament team, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Of course, I'm biased. I think a lot of our listeners are biased. I mean, you want to see San Diego State in the NCAA tournament. Here's the one thing I would say, too. Would you agree with this, Jim, that if they do get in, it is such a sigh of relief. And if you get Magoon into the game, your first game of the tournament, we don't know how effective he'll be. It's going to be 3+ weeks without him. But don't you feel like it's complete house money? Like, don't you feel as if they've been playing with a weight on their shoulder this final couple of weeks? You're going to Vegas. Can you win? You're going to Laramie. Can you hold this? Can you hold on? Can you beat Boise for a third time? Like, you're doing everything to hold on for dear life. Don't you feel like the complexion would change if they hear their name called on Sunday?
I think so. I think even going in, no matter what, to me, this year is like house money, because the expectations going in this year is like, obviously every year make the tournament, right? And with how young of a team they have, it would be an amazing feat to make a tournament in year one with all these new players and new lineups and the loss of Reese Waters, right? Like, you've said it multiple times. You'd think that, this would be one of Dutch's better coaching years if they got to the tournament. Yeah, dude, it's house money, bro. They make the tournament. Even if it's the first four, to me, that's kind of like almost like the end goal here. Everything else is the cherry on top. Everything else is the extra. Everything else is gravy, for me at least.
See, I agree, but it's amazing how like the shoe fits on the other foot. Like, go back to 2 years ago when Dutch hadn't yet won a tournament game. You had that veteran group. They had to go to Orlando. They were a 5th seed. They had to win a game.
Yes, they had to.
Now they made the championship game, and then once they won that game, once they won that game, though, it felt like there was that huge sigh of relief.
I know,
and like the monkey was off their back. And then even last year, it's Lamont's 4th year. You've got a veteran guard in Darion Trammell. Jaden Ledie's a 5th or 6th year college player. It's like, you gotta win.
Yeah,
and they did. They won 2 games and got to a Sweet 16. I just feel like this time around, if they get in, feels different to me. Feels like you can just. Sky's the limit, shoot for the moon. If you end up short, so be it. Mm-hmm. But it's not like you have to win if you get in. No. It would just feel so damn good to get in.
100%. Like that's the feeling here. And you go out there, and as Nick Boyd said, we'll just play our ass off and see what happens. And Dutch won't have to, and I'm sure he didn't really care in the first place. It was more outside noise, but he doesn't have to go into this tournament if they do make it, being like, I won a tournament game. Like, dude, you're one of the best coaches in college basketball. You've made back-to-back Sweet 16s. You were in the national title game 2 years ago. You've made the NCAA tournament the last 5 years.
5 years.
You've been in the Mountain West Conference tournament game the last 7 years. Every year that you've been the coach of the Aztecs, except for this season. He's got nothing else to prove, and those are always dangerous teams. And I think even if they do lose their first round game, if they make the tournament, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Even though there will be fans that will do exactly just that.
All right. On the other side, we need to get to what John Seidler said on Wednesday. We had Kevin Acee on. Man, I thought that was a good conversation. I've been texting, by the way, today with Kevin, who's going to join us coming up at the 5 o'clock hour. Oh, man, we had a funny back and forth. That I'll share on air on the other side that you'll find funny as well. So I'll share the back and forth I had with Kevin Acee earlier today. He's going to join us coming up in the 5 o'clock hour at 5 p.m. Rocco Miller is our bracketologist. He's going to join us at 4:30. I'm going to be hanging on every word he says. Plus, be listening for that sounder. When you hear it, the goal sound call, make sure to call 877-767-4760 for a chance to qualify to win 2 free tickets to see San Diego FC tomorrow night at Snapdragon Stadium. Hour 2 of Jon and Jim coming up next.
Goal! San Diego FC!
All right, this update is brought to you by Staples Stores. We'll start with San Diego State basketball. They lost their opening round game yesterday afternoon in the Mountain West Conference tournament to Boise State. They'll now wait for Selection Sunday to hear if their name will be called. You can listen to the Selection Sunday show right here on San Diego Sports 760 on Sunday afternoon at 3 p.m. And San Diego FC plays Columbus Crew tomorrow night at Snapdragon Stadium. 7:30 is when the match will get underway. Our pregame starts at 7 p.m. with Adrian Garcia Marquez and Darren Smith right here on your home for SDFC, San Diego Sports 760. Your local Staples has hot deals and super low prices throughout the store on everything for your business. And right now at Staples, save up to $250 off your print order. Exclusions do apply. Visit staples.com/print for details. Ends April 5th. Plus, save even more with the Easy Rewards program at Staples.
Getting you all set for that drive home. Let's just start the show. Here's Jon and Jim.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is hour 2 of Jon and Jim here until 6. This is a bit of like a wrench in the plans. This will be the final hour. We're going to qualify a listener for a chance to win 2 free tickets to see San Diego FC tomorrow night against the Columbus Crew, a match you can hear on San Diego Sports 760. Adrian Garcia Marquez, Darren Smith on the call. This is tomorrow night at 7:30. We have 2 free tickets. And we've qualified people, Jim, all week. We're going to qualify another listener this hour. And then we're going to announce not one winner, but 2 winners coming up around 4 p.m. for those tickets. This is from qualifiers earlier in the week. This is from qualifiers today. And we're going to have 2 winners of 2 free tickets for Saturday night at Snapdragon Stadium.
Yeah, so if you want to go tomorrow night, and you want some free tickets, this is the last hour for you to qualify. So you're going to have to listen the entire hour, every second of the hour, even during breaks and commercials, because Brent could play the sounder at literally any moment. So you have an hour left. Listen to the entire hour. Wait to hear that sounder call, and you can be qualified to win those tickets. We're announcing the winner at 4, like you said, Jon.
All right, so we'll announce those winners coming up. Again, Rocco Miller, I'll be hanging on every word, our bracketologist.
Should I just give this to you? I mean, you are a mess.
Get out. Take whatever you want to do. You want to call mom? You want to go get cookies? Go to a Crumble. Go to McDonald's.
Okay. I mean, maybe Crumble.
You're going to have 15 minutes. So you got maybe 20 with the breaks. You're going to have a little bit of time. So we'll have a bracketologist, Rocco Miller. He's one of the best. At 4:30, Kevin Acee will join us at 5. We'll talk about San Diego FC coming up at 5:30. Now, I know today is an interesting day for the Padres, right, Jim? Because you've got this showcase game going on this afternoon.
Yeah.
That's underway. And then they play a spring training game later tonight. But when it comes to the Padres, we cannot bury that lead of John Seidler's introduction to the San Diego community, essentially, and Padres fans through that article that Kevin wrote on Wednesday. We read through it Wednesday, and we spoke with Kevin maybe 30 minutes or an hour afterwards, and we kind of had that contentious back and forth, me, you, and Kevin. Here's what Kevin said, by the way. Let's see.
You can say it's on air. We're all good.
Let me see. I'm reading it. I said, what time would work for today? He said 5. He said, can't wait for your take on the Vetter Cup. I said,
oh my gosh.
Here, can I say this? I said, ha, ha, ha. I blame it on John Seidler. And he said, can you and Jim disagree like usual? That was weird to have you guys in concert. I said, ha, ha, so true. I normally hate all of Jim's opinions.
Oh, thanks. You know what's funny is you do this sometimes. You go, can I read this? And then you read it on air.
I know.
You're like asking me, like, can I read this? And then you just say it.
That was all good fun.
No, it's fine.
And listen, the thing is, when you interview someone as often as we interview Kevin, like, I do want to make sure, like, sometimes I'm like, is it all good? But the conversation we had Wednesday, if you missed that, you can go to sportssd.com and check it out. I thought it was a really good conversation. And we consistently credited Kevin for, like, publishing it. Like, I thought it was a really interesting, fascinating look at John Seidler and what's to come here. I just was, and we disagreed, me and Kevin, and you and Kevin as well. I was taken aback by what John said, like what his quotes were within the article, how heavily he relied on his past and talking now about the future. And again, his affinity for the Dodgers growing up. And fair, if that's the case, that's the case. I'm not saying this is going to define his tenure, Jim. I really don't think it will. It's just, we've seen a lot of the notes, me and you, dude. We see the social media, right? We see the reaction on Instagram, on X. We get the direct messages. There's been a lot. It's been a kind of a split opinion on whether John Seidler went a little too far in discussing his affinity for the Dodgers when he was younger or not. I think some people agree with Kevin. Hey, he was transparent. I think some people agree with me and you, which is like, did you really need to go there? You own the San Diego Padres now.
Yeah, there were, when I posted the snippets, there were a good amount of people that were, this is a nothing burger. And I'm glad that he's transparent, and I'm a rage baiter, and I'm an idiot for whatever reason, because I had an opinion that I didn't like.
Right.
John Seidler kind of leading on day one with how much he loved the Dodgers. One thing Kevin did tell us during the interview that I listened back to,
right,
which kind of like proved what I was trying to say and what you were trying to say as well, is and I continue to use this on social media and like we're responding to people.
Mm-hmm.
I would have loved if he took a page out of his brother's book, because as Kevin told us, the one thing that Peter never wanted to do was talk about the Dodgers. He always referred to them as the team up north. The second he signed on the dotted line, he said, nope, I'm all in. And he flipped the switch, Padres all the way, 100%. And, he talked about that in the piece. John did. Like, it took me a little longer to get there. And when I first heard the Beat LA chants, I just couldn't get into it. And then I had to get a nudge from people. And, now I'm fully on board. I think that's where I was going with it, is like, sometimes you don't need to tell people everything you're thinking.
Right.
You just don't. And in this case, I didn't feel like it was necessary to elaborate on something that was already known. Like, everybody knew Peter's ties because of the O'Malley family. Everybody knew he grew up a Dodger fan. Everybody knew the Seidlers, were in the link with O'Malley's, like their grandfather, like they're Dodger fans. Like, I don't think it needs to be said or talked about and elaborated to the extent that John elaborated it on, when was it? Wednesday afternoon?
Wednesday, yeah.
But like, some people don't care. Some people do care. And I think, it's not going to linger. I agree with you. I said it on Wednesday. This is not going to define his legacy.
No, I don't think so.
What will define his legacy if he lets Jackson Merrill walk without giving him a contract,
100%.
right? What will define his legacy is if they don't win a World Series or if they stop spending money. Like, those things will matter way more than him saying how much he loved the Dodgers and how it was a hard thing for him to convert when he became a minority owner of the Padres in 2012. And then reading over the article again the other night, I do think one thing that stuck out to me, because this article, as you know, it dropped during the middle of our show.
Yep.
It's hard to fully dive into such a important piece. The first comments from John Seidler during our show, like, I remember you asked me, because I listened back, and you were like, the LA chants. And I'm like, wait, last year?
Yeah.
And then you had to keep reading. And
2012.
Yeah. But I don't know if you'll agree with me on this, but reading it again, I think the more concerning thing, because the Dodger stuff, that's just PR, right? That is just PR stuff. I don't like seeing it. Other fans don't like seeing it. We've gotten messages and we see it, right? Whatever. Is the fact that, now he's the minority, he's the control person of this team. He doesn't necessarily want to do this. He doesn't want to have this title. It almost feels like he was forced to have this title. He wants to be a guy in the background, not be known, not talk to the media, not be, the face of the organization like Peter was. And I get that. But at the same time, I don't know, man. I don't want my owner to be all hands on deck and have their hands in all the cookie jars. But I also kind of, and if I'm a fan, I'd want my owner to actually want this, right?
Well, that, and yeah, I agree with almost everything you said. And I would say this you've seen this Jim play out on social media, this affinity and love for his transparency and honesty, right?
Yeah.
We love that in our owner. Well, okay, I respect that. I respect that opinion. I happen to disagree with it. I said something on Wednesday. I'll stick by and double down on today. They're a business. Mm-hmm. They're not in the transparency business. Do they open their books every year?
They're never transparent with us.
Yeah, you like transparency? Oh, that's interesting. Would you like to see their operating revenue? from 2023, they're not going to share it with you. Would you like to see all the inner workings of their organization? This isn't an open book. They're transparent. Would you like to see them tweet about San Diego FC? They're doing their best interest. As in, we can differ on our opinions there. Jim might say, I'd like to see them support other teams locally. I might say they're a business. Like, at the end of the day, this love affair with transparency for an organization that isn't transparent, and I'm not asking them to be transparent. There's a lot of organizations that do everything in their power to represent themselves well with the business interests first. At the end of the day, I would say this if I'm John Seidler. Like, you're keeping a seat warm. At the end of the day, the San Diego Padres are going to exist after John Seidler. You're in the business of maintaining the San Diego Padres moving forward and putting them in a better spot than when you took over. So, yeah, I get this. It's kind of played out in front of us. This, man, I love this transparency. Well, if you love all this transparency, why aren't you asking for more of it from the organization? Because that's not who they are. It's not who they're going to be. And if they are in the business of PR, and if they are a business, which is what I would argue, you got to do everything to position yourself well, to your point, like Peter did. Peter, yeah, you can't run away from who your grandfather is, but you also don't lean into it when you own the rival team.
Mm-hmm. I'll die on that hill.
Yep.
Shouldn't have said it. Should have taken a different route. You can go down that road without expressing everything that you were as a former fan of the Dodgers and everything that you went through to stop being a fan while also being a minority owner of the Padres. And again, nobody knew back in 2012 that this was going to happen, right? John, I don't think John in 2012 thought, one day I'm going to be the control person of this team. Like, no, he clearly never wanted to do this. He never wanted to be in the big seat. He didn't. And so, like, those kind of things kind of concern me. I also think, are we really just going to trust this guy 100% after one probably controlled setting interview with Kevin? Are we just going to all of a sudden trust this guy 100% because he went to some Padre games and is a fan of the team now? Are we going to really just trust this guy to still spend money to write the checks for a Jackson Merrill contract, like to go out and give AJ Preller the necessary resources and money to go get free agents? Like, are we just going to fully trust this guy after one controlled interview? Like, I don't know.
Into that. I want to get into that on the other side. That is such a good point. I want to get into that on the other side because he says he wants to win the World Series. Well, guess what the other owners say? They want to win the World Series too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are they gonna do it through actions like Peter did? Plus, be listening for that San Diego FC sounder when you hear the goal call from Adrian Garcia Marquez. Make sure to call 877-767-4760 for a chance to qualify to win 2 free tickets to see San Diego FC tomorrow night at Snapdragon Stadium. Our bracketologist Rocco Miller at 4:30. Kevin Acee at 5 p.m. It's Jon and Jim. right, again, we've got the all-new iHeartRadio app. If you have not downloaded it, now is the time. Make sure to put San Diego Sports 760 in your presets. You can listen to Jon and Jim weekdays from 2 to 6 live. Put Jon and Jim in your presets as well. You can listen back to any interview or hour from the show. In addition, you can listen to San Diego State football and basketball, and, of course, San Diego FC tomorrow night. Adrian Garcia-Marquez and Darren Smith. You can do it all on the app. Make sure to download it and put San Diego Sports 760 and Jon and Jim in your presets. Now, be listening for that sounder, that goal call from Adrian Garcia-Marquez. The next time you hear it, call 877-767-4760. Again, 877-767-4760. We will qualify one more listener for 2 free tickets for tomorrow night, San Diego FC Columbus Crew Snapdragon Stadium, and then be listening at 4 p.m. and we'll announce the pair of ticket winners. We have 2 pairs to give away based on some of the listeners we've qualified this week on Jon and Jim. So be listening for that. Now, where we left off the conversation, Jim, was what John Seidler said publicly to Kevin Acee, which again didn't cover every topic, but did cover his childhood and his fandom growing up and cover some of his desires now as chairman and whether he wanted the job or not. To your point, the thing that stuck out to me was that, and maybe it's hard to have actions on day one as a chairman, but this idea that we're going to do everything in our power to win a World Series, and that's not a direct quote, but if you read the article, I think you get that that's what they're trying to sell, right, in the article, that, hey, we're going to do everything in our power to win, which is fine to say, Jim, but how does it really reflect when you compare it to Peter's tenure? Like, is their next 3 years going to look anything like Peter's 3 years? And if the answer is no, then I would say they're not doing everything in their power to win a World Series because Peter then did and they did not. Now, I'll give it time to play out. Maybe the payroll goes up. Maybe it goes down. Maybe they extend Jackson Merrill. Maybe they don't. But until they do it with actions like Peter did, I think it's easy to say that. It's another thing to actually do that. Do everything you can to win a World Series.
Absolutely. And what I was saying, as far as like, let's just wait before we give this guy 100% of our trust, I would say the same thing if Shield was the owner of this team right now. Like, whoever became the new control person,
yep,
it's all about actions over words. And I do think, I mean, first off, good on Kevin for getting the one-on-one.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great. I think, getting that one-on-one for Kevin to write that piece, that was awesome.
Yep.
I think it's a disservice that the Padres aren't giving the rest of the media an opportunity to talk to Jon as well, because this is not some guy that is just a, figure in the background. All right. He's the new control person. He's the new face, not the face, but you get my point. Like, he's the new guy. Whenever I think about money with this team going forward and writing checks, my mind immediately goes to John Seidler. So with that being said, I don't like the fact that Jon is not going to be put in front of the media. I do not like the fact that he only talked to Kevin, even though good on Kevin for that. I do not like the fact that this is not a situation that is not a controlled environment. I'm sorry. Like, it's part of the job. And I know he doesn't want this, but that is what the job now entails. I'm not asking him to talk every single week like Peter, even though Peter didn't talk every week, but you get my point.
Sure.
I'm not asking him to go on social media like Steve Cohen and tweet out everything he thinks. I'm not asking for that. I'm just asking for like a fair representation to the entirety of the media in an uncontrolled environment where he's going to have to get, he's going to have to answer questions like, what's your payroll going to be like? Or, giving out contracts or whatever the case may be, that other media members, I'm sure, are sitting there being like, I have some questions for Jon,
Yeah, like, this is not a high bar to cross. You're 1,000% right. Now, okay, can we give him time because it's day one? But we heard from, correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, was it Eric Grupner?
We did.
On day one of spring training that said, listen, this is playing out. There's a 30-day window for him to be acclimated or officially the chairman. And then I would suspect we'd hear from him at some point in March. I think it was Grupner. Did he not say that?
Yes.
Maybe in the middle of March, somewhere in March, maybe before the start of the season, we would hear from him. Now, we have heard from him in some way, like you said, from Kevin's article. But you are 100% right that there is basically a duty and obligation to speak with the media in its entirety. And you don't have to answer every question. I mean, you can get political. You can beat around the bush. You don't have to answer everything directly. That not every owner of every team answers everything directly. You don't have to say whether Dylan Cease is on the trade block, if the payroll is going to go down 12 million or up 12 million. You can give us a general synopsis of what your plans are. But I think you do owe it. You do owe it to what is one of the most passionate fan bases in baseball that has consistently supported you over the last decade, by and large, right? The 2020 certainly. You're going to owe it to them because they're giving a lot to you. You got to give them something back. Now they're giving something back. They've got a very serviceable, beyond serviceable roster. They've spent money on this team, but they're going to have to prove it time and time again to consistently draw 3.2 million fans inside Petco Park over the rest of this decade.
Yeah, if this is the only time we hear from Jon for the next year is through a article from Kevin in a controlled environment,
that's a problem.
I don't like that. I just don't. Again, I'm not asking or saying that he needs to speak every single week, because once we get into the season, like, it's about the baseball team on the field, and we'll be talking about the baseball team on the field every single day unless things pop up with the lawsuit. But like, if this team in the offseason doesn't sign anybody, or their payroll goes down, or they let Jackson Merrill go, or whatever the case may be, like, if they ended up in the future like firing people, like, you're gonna need Jon to speak. Like, he's gonna have to speak. I don't want to hear from Eric Grupner. I'm sorry, he's not the owner of the team. Jon is. So, like, my whole takeaway is, after a couple days and reading the article again and actually getting a chance to like fully digest it, is like, one, I'm not really that thrilled to see that he didn't want this. He doesn't want this, and he doesn't want to, do this, but it's kind of been forced on him. And also, like, his actions will have to speak louder than words. And I would have wished that he spoke to the entirety of the media and had a press conference instead of just talking to Kevin. I don't like that. And I would have said the same thing if Shield was the owner of the team and did the exact same thing and only did a sit-down interview with Kevin and didn't talk to the media. I would say the same exact thing. And I am going to hold off on fully trusting this guy until I see that his actions are going to match his words.
Completely agree. And this idea, and I see some of it on the text line, and I see some of it in our YouTube chat, and we see it on social media, this idea that owners don't speak with the media. No, they do. There's not an example of a new owner not speaking with the media. Or there shouldn't be an example. There's way more examples of new ownership groups speaking with the media than not. And I will stand by that. I don't have that, in writing. I don't have the data to support it. But don't tell me that when Mark Cuban took over the Dallas Mavericks, he didn't speak with the media, because that's an inaccurate statement. It's a part of the job, whether you like it or not. All right. Are the Padres still listening on Dylan Cease? Because teams are calling, and I'm not talking about one or two or three. A lot of teams. We'll tell you how many are calling on Dylan Cease. Are they listening? Plus, the Padres made something Facebook official today. We'll share that with you coming up this hour, and be listening for that sounder for a chance to win San Diego FC tickets for tomorrow night at Snapdragon Stadium. This is Jon and Jim.
All right, this update's brought to you by Staples Stores. We'll start with the Aztecs. They lost to Boise in their opening round of the Mountain West Conference tournament yesterday, 62-52. They're now going to have to wait for Selection Sunday to hear if their name will be called. You can listen to the Selection Show right here on San Diego Sports 760 Sunday afternoon at 3 p.m. And San Diego FC, they play Columbus Crew tomorrow night at Snapdragon Stadium. 7:30 is when the match is going to get underway. Our pregame starts at 7 p.m. with Adrian Garcia Marquez and Darren Smith right here on San Diego Sports 760. Your local Staples has hot deals and super low prices throughout the store on everything for your business. And right now at Staples, save up to $250 off your print order. Exclusions do apply. Visit staples.com/print for details. Ends April 5th. Plus, save even more with the Easy Rewards program at Staples.
Got the wrap coming up at 4 p.m. Rocco Miller, I'll be hanging on every word he says. Final bracketologist of the year. We are now less than 48 hours out from Selection Sunday. Rocco Miller will join us at 4:30. Kevin Acee, Padres Insider, at 5 p.m. We'll get into SDFC as well coming up at 5:30. Speaking of SDFC, Jim, we will qualify one more listener between now and 4 p.m. And then all of our listeners for the week will be qualified. And two of you are going to walk away with a pair of tickets for tomorrow night, 7:30, SDFC Columbus Crew, a match you can hear right here on San Diego Sports 760, pre-match coverage at 7. Darren Smith, Adrian Garcia Marquez at 7:30. Have you figured out your tomorrow night plans? Will you be in the building for match 2 or not?
I will be in the building for actually match 4, John. This is
okay, but kind of home match 2.
Yes, home match 2. But I will be there tomorrow night. Real quick before we get to the Dylan Cease stuff, did you see? Because the biggest story coming out of their home opener was the chants, right?
You're talking about San Diego FC's,
yeah, the derogatory, homophobic chants.
Yep.
They came out and even Tom Penn talked about it yesterday, said following the use of discriminatory language during the inaugural home match, SDFC is implementing a comprehensive plan to reinforce the club's commitment to fostering an inclusive and respectful match day environment. Bottom line, they said, if you feel the need to chant offensive language, we aren't the club for you. They said that if you do chant these things at the match, you violators will be ejected from the match and the match will be stopped. So pretty strong words there.
Is strong. I was happy to hear it. I knew they'd have a strong stance because they've spoken on this publicly a good amount over the last 2 weeks. And they said they would come up with a plan. Implementing a plan like that, Jim, might be easier said than done is what I would say. If it were to continue in a group setting.
Yes.
You know, if it's 1 or 2 or 3 people being ridiculous, of course, you can get rid of these fans. Absolutely. But if it's a section of fans, if it's a group of supporters that are chanting like this, are you really going to, remove all of those supporters? Are you really going to be stopping matches? Now, I think that, yes, that is a possibility. Matches can be stopped. That's happened elsewhere before. Hopefully this type of language and this type of policy will remove it. But I know they've done a lot of work to try to remove some of this from international soccer as well, Jim, in Europe. FIFA international matches, World Cup, right? I mean, it's one thing to try. It's another thing to do. It's hard to eliminate this, from all matches of all soccer teams around the country or the world. I hope it does. I mean, it's a strong stance. It's the right stance, and hopefully people abide by it.
Yeah, and I don't know the level of success from trying to stop these types of chants from other clubs, but it seems like, they have a plan in place. Tom Penn, Darren was telling me like he had the same issue up at LAFC, right? So he's been through it before. So he definitely understands what, you have to do in these situations. And it will be interesting to see if, what happens tomorrow night. I hope it doesn't happen, right? Like I hope
agree with you.
We don't want that, right? We just don't need that. They don't need that. Nobody wants it. So, but they have a plan in place, and it seems like they're going to be very strict if these chants do continue. And so basically it's like, don't hurt the team, don't chant this chant, and everything will be fine.
All right, let's switch gears here to the Padres, who, according to John Heyman of the New York Post, The Padres have received interest on Dylan Cease from 9 teams, including the entire AL East. That's 5 teams, along with the Chicago Cubs and New York Mets. The remaining 2 clubs are unknown. Now, we know that Kevin has joined us and said a pre-opening day trade. This is not a, it's always possible to trade deadline, but a pre-opening day trade, and that's 2 weeks from right now or 13 days from right now. That's highly unlikely, according to Kevin Acee of the UT and others. But that hasn't stopped teams from calling on Cease. I mean, that's a good portion of the league, Jim. I mean, 9 of the other teams have called on Dylan Cease, including some heavy hitters like the Yankees and the Red Sox and others. Is there that can't pass up trade that Preller would consider, or are we too late in that equation and Cease and King are too important for the Padres in 2025?
I don't know what that trade would look like. The I can't pass this up trade.
Right.
I just don't. Like I'm not Kyle Glazer that knows all about the minors. I'm not, privy to every prospect that would be in this deal from other teams. So I don't know. And even if I did know, I would probably still lean towards don't trade this guy right now. Don't. You have the mindset going into this season, from what I can tell, is we're going for it. And then to at the last second blow that up to get some prospects, even though they might be highly rated prospects, because I mean, again, what's more proven? The prospects that you're getting back are Dylan Cease. At this moment in time, it's Dylan Cease.
No doubt. And
I get it. Preller has to worry about 26, 27, and so forth, however long he's here for.
Yep.
If you're a fan, I don't care. I want Dylan Cease in a Padres uniform. If this thing goes sideways and the deadline, there's 7 games under, then you trade everybody. But at this point, why are you not trying to go for it is my question.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I mean, just because you have interest in something doesn't mean you should get rid of it. Like, I think, people can relate to that idea. Let's say you've got a prized possession. Doesn't mean you should get rid of it. Like, what is it worth to you? Let's say you've got a prized heirloom and someone's willing to give you $1,000, $5,000, $10,000 or more. That doesn't mean that you should get rid of it or you have to get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
What is it worth to you? Someone might say, hey, $5,000 is a lot of money. Yeah, but you got a prized heirloom that you can't live without potentially. Now there's a price. Maybe we all have that prized heirloom and say, I'm not getting rid of that for $5K, but if someone came calling for $50K, that's something that could help my family out financially, help send my child to college or help put food on the table. Understandable. But you got to go over the top with Preller. I think he's proven that before. And I also think now, I don't know if you can go over the top with Preller for 2025. We've had this conversation. July is different than now. If July dictates you need to make moves, you make those moves for the betterment of the team. But in March, you got to put your team in a position where you're thinking about adding in July, not subtracting in July. And Cease makes you better in the now. We can have that conversation in July. I don't want to have that conversation in March. I think it's an awful look. Coming off 93 wins, even if he thinks he wins the trade, we've been talking about PR a lot this week with what John Seidler said. Perception is reality. You trade Juan Soto one off season, you trade Dylan Cease the next. I'm sorry. The perception there is you're not doing everything in your power to win a World Series, even if you do think it makes your team better long term.
And I think the good thing right now is he's still in a Padres uniform. So
definitely.
These are just if this were to happen type of thing. Yep. Right now, I applaud Preller for not trading away Cease or King this offseason when I'm sure there were maybe moments he was heavily considering it. I said last week, as soon as Garrett Cole went down and who's the guy for Seattle? Kirby. What's his first name? It's not Wayne.
Yates?
No. His last name's Kirby for Seattle, their top pitcher. It's not.
Oh, you're talking about George
Kirby. When he went down, I was like, yeah, dude, Preller's going to get calls on Cease.
Yep.
Like I'm sure he's going to get calls on Cease. Of course he is. Teams would be stupid not to continue to try to call on Dylan Cease this close to the season, just to gauge the interest level. Like, hey, you still thinking of trading Dylan, right? so far, I applaud Preller for not pulling that trigger. I kind of feel the same way I felt in 2023, coming on the last year of Hader and Blake Snell and them going for it. And then it didn't work. And then they had an awful trade deadline. And that was just a complete mistake by AJ. And hopefully the team's not in that same situation again this year. Hopefully they're actually better and they're trading for pieces to contend and they are contending and they're in a good spot and they're a winning baseball team. But if that were to happen again, I would hope Preller would learn from his mistakes in the past, like 2023. And that's when you would move him, not right now. But again, these are all what ifs, and hopefully we don't have to go down that path because that would suck.
No doubt about it. All right, be listening for that sounder when you hear the Adrian Garcia Marquez goal call. Make sure to call 877-767-4760 for your chance to qualify to win 2 tickets for tomorrow night at Snapdragon Stadium, San Diego FC and the Columbus Crew. On the other side, the Padres did something today that basically made it Facebook official. And we'll explain that on the other side. We've got our bracketologist, Rocco Miller, at 4:30. Kevin Acee is at 5. Be listening for those SDFC tickets here on Jon and Jim. All right, Jon and Jim back with you. San Diego Sports 760. Be listening for that sounder. Adrian Garcia Marquez goal call for a final chance to qualify to win a pair of tickets to see San Diego FC tomorrow night against the Columbus Crew. Will announce not one but two winners for a pair of tickets each for tomorrow night, a match you can hear right here on San Diego Sports 760. So the wrap is coming up at 4 p.m. Kevin Acee will join us at 5 p.m. I think you and I probably both kind of woke up to this release, Jim, from the Padres making the Vetter Cup with Seattle official, something that kind of stemmed out of social media or Padres Twitter, now has become official and has, a trophy to boot as well for the winner of the season series between the San Diego Padres and the Seattle Mariners. What is your take on this? That the Vetter Cup, which we've discussed loosely for years, has become like officially official today.
The first person that I think of is Bernie Wilson, because all he did when they would play Seattle would talk about Eddie Vedder and the Vetter Cup and the battle for the Vetter Cup. So I feel like somewhere Bernie in his retirement is holding up a glass of beer, a pint of beer, and just giving a toast and a salute, like, you're welcome, everybody. Again, it's a fun little social media thing. What I found to be like interesting, and it's like, what are we doing, guys? So they announced, Major League Baseball announced this, and then they quote tweeted the announcement with like parameters of the series if there is a tie in the regular season between the clubs. Listen to the following tiebreakers, John.
Okay.
So number one will be run differential. The team with a greater run differential is the season series winner.
Okay.
And then listen to this. I'm like, are we really doing this? Number two, EV, short for exit velocity and Eddie Vedder. If the clubs share an even run differential in the season series, the team with the highest exit velocity recorded on a hit will win the Vetter Cup. Are you serious?
No. Well, if you're going to do that, forget about run differential and go straight to that. Like, if you want to be stupid, just go straight to that, is what I would say. Now, I will say this, is that the award is part of a charity drive as well. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but it's an organization co-founded by Eddie and Jill Vedder. And the charity is dedicated to funding research to discover treatments and cures for a condition. I think it's a condition that causes blistering of the skin. So, okay, that's good that it's charitable. I think a lot of people know the ties of Eddie Vedder, obviously, hence the fact that this grew out of social media and has been known as the Vetter Cup. But now it's like, it's official. I've never really thought of like the Mariners Padres as anything of grave significance, truthfully. I mean, I really don't. I mean, they share a spring training complex in Peoria, and they've played a lot in interleague play eras over the last 30 years. But I guess now more is on the line. I mean, I don't think this all of a sudden makes it Ohio State, Michigan.
No.
Or Duke, Carolina coming up in 10 minutes. But I mean, I'm fine. I'm fine with it. I'm not enamored by it, but I don't want to be the guy to pour cold water over everything. I have no problem with it. I guess my overall take.
No problem with it whatsoever. I'm with you. I'm not going to poo-poo it at all. I think it's actually low-key hilarious that this series could be decided by exit velocity, and I need that to happen like really bad, because I think the Padres would have the upper hand in exit velocity off the bat with guys like Manny and Tatis. I don't think anybody on the Mariners, well, Julio Rodriguez, but still, sure. I think Tatis will. Do you think Tatis is going to that series? Like, I got to have the hardest hit ball in this series.
Right. It would be amazing if that's the type of thing that like turns like a season around. Like, hey, we went into that Seattle series kind of down, but we told ourselves if we get that cup back, and they're like, hey, we swept them, and that catapulted us to a 9-game winning streak.
Do you know who I can't wait to hear on about the Vetter Cup is?
Who?
Are you serious?
Eddie Vedder?
No, it's the easiest guess in the world. It's Mike Schilt.
Marty.
No, not Marty.
I feel like she commented on it a lot.
She did.
Schilt's going to absolutely have he's going to love his guy. Oh, this trophy. He's going to have like a 6-minute soliloquy about the trophy.
He might. And he's going to talk about how important it is to win the Vetter Cup. Yeah, Schulte, I can't wait. And maybe he talked about it today. I don't know. I didn't see anything, but yeah, I need to hear Schulte.
How about this? Imagine a world. Here, let me ask you this, Jim. Would you rather win the Vetter Cup or the World Series if you're playing the Mariners?
Oh, great question.
Imagine a world, and this world doesn't exist, where the Padres and the Mariners are both in the World Series in the set. That, like, what happens then? It's like the Michigan-Ohio State thing. You're like, yeah, Ohio State won the Natty, but they didn't beat Michigan.
I think it'll be kind of funny since, Schulte's kind of old, if he got Eddie Vedder confused with like Kurt Cobain or like some dude from Soundgarden where he got his grunge bands mixed up to be like, oh yeah, I love Smells Like Teen Spirit. It's like one of my favorite songs.
That would be funny.
It is. I saw this morning and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then seeing all the tiebreakers, exit velocity is just an incredible tiebreaker. It's right, John? Like, how incredible is it to have this, I guess, social media created type of series that there will probably be a trophy for be decided by exit velocity?
It would be incredible. But that's where I like having a Tatis.
Yes.
That's
what I said. The Padres have the clear advantage in guys for exit velocity off the bat. No question would I much rather have Tatis than anybody else when it comes to that. I mean, it's not even a question.
But don't tell me social media doesn't matter when things like this are born out of social media, or I hear like Preller at the start of spring training, like, we saw what people said about us in the offseason, so we went out and signed Xander Bogaerts. Like, so I get it. It's not the end all be all. Like, you're not going to run an organization based on social media reaction, but social media can have, like, it has an impact. I mean, we've seen that play out in professional sports.
We all know Preller has the burner somewhere. Like, it's
one,
maybe multiple, but there's at least one.
Has to.
Yeah,
absolutely has to.
Yeah.
All right, still to come on the show today, Rocco Miller, resident bracketologist, bracketeer.org, also Field of 68. For a final time this year, Rocco Miller, 2 days in front of Selection Sunday. SDSU fans, UCSD fans on pins and needles right now. He will join us coming up at 4:30. Kevin Acee will join us at 5 p.m. We'll get into the Vetter Cup. We'll get into the ending here of spring training coming up in the next couple of weeks, and much more. The John Seidler conversation he had as well. And then we're also going to have Max Bretos join us coming up at 5:30. He'll be on the call this weekend for SDFC and Columbus Crew from Snapdragon Stadium. So there's a lot to get to over the next couple of hours. Again, be listening for that sounder. When you hear the Adrian Garcia Marquez goal call, make sure to call 877-767-4760 for a chance to qualify to win SDFC tickets for tomorrow night. We're going to announce not one, but two grand prize winners coming up in about 5 minutes or so. So two of you from this week's qualifiers are going to walk away with a pair of tickets to tomorrow night's match at Snapdragon Stadium, the second ever home match for SDFC. We're here until 6 p.m. Great guests on the way. Contests as well, chances to win. Don't go anywhere. Hour 3 of Jon and Jim comes your way next. Stay with us here on San Diego Sports 760.
San Diego FC!
All right, this update's brought to you by Staples Stores. San Diego State coming off their loss against Boise State yesterday in the first round game in the Mountain West Conference tournament. They'll now have to wait for Selection Sunday to hear if their name will be called. You can listen to the Selection Sunday show right here on San Diego Sports 760 on Sunday afternoon at 3 p.m. San Diego FC, they take on Columbus Crew tomorrow night at Snapdragon Stadium. 7:30 is when the match gets underway. Our pregame starts at 7 p.m. right here with Adrian Garcia-Marquez and Darren Smith on San Diego Sports 760. Your local Staples has hot deals and super low prices throughout the store on everything for your business. And right now at Staples, save up to $250 off your print order. Exclusions do apply. Visit staples.com/print for details. Ends April 5th. Plus, save even more with the Easy Rewards program at Staples.
Getting you all set for that drive home. Let's just start the show. Here's Jon and Jim.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is hour 3 of Jon and Jim, and we're going to start this hour. Are we going to start the hour, Jim, by giving away these pairs of tickets?
We are, John.
Okay, good. So we've been qualifying listeners all week long, and by all week long, I mean for a few of the days, because we didn't have a show yesterday. I don't think we started qualifying until Tuesday, but we've been qualifying listeners. We've had grand qualifiers, and that includes today. And we're going to announce not one winner, but 2 winners for tomorrow's match. San Diego FC, Columbus Crew, Snapdragon Stadium. I haven't even asked you because I'm in Vegas. It's been raining the last couple of days, right? But it's supposed to clear up. It's supposed to be nice, I think, tomorrow. Is it raining now?
It was raining when I drove into work today.
Okay.
But it's been like off and on. It should be sunny tomorrow, though. So
okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, I know we need the rain, but we also need the sun.
Yeah.
For soccer matches. So
yeah, that'd be nice.
Sunny and 62.
Perfect.
Oh,
so we'll have
great.
sun tomorrow for San Diego FC. You guys take this away. You want to do the drum roll and announce the winners for these SDFC tickets for tomorrow night?
Give me a drum roll, Brent. John and Armando, congratulations. You have both won a pair of tickets to see San Diego FC take on Columbus Crew tomorrow at Snapdragon Stadium. They've already been contacted, and congratulations, guys.
I love that. So John and Armando. And here's the thing with us being the home for San Diego FC, you're going to have chances to win tickets all season long. You'll have opportunities to win tickets if you listen to Jon and Jim, if you listen to San Diego Sports 760. You'll have chances. I think there's 17 regular season home matches. This is only the second, and this will go on all spring and summer and into the fall. So, and they're still, they've had this great start to the year, and they're going to hopefully continue that tomorrow night against the Columbus Crew. Again, a match you can hear right here on San Diego Sports 760, 7:30 start time. Pre-match coverage will begin at 7 p.m. I am sitting here. We'll get into this, Jim, with Rocco Miller, bracketologist. You know how I said earlier, like you can't obsess over every result when it comes to bracketology and where San Diego State is right now in the bubble.
But you're going to obsess, right?
Well, now I've turned on Duke Carolina.
Of course you have.
Because a Carolina win is a negative for San Diego State. It's not the end-all be-all, but I think it would be a negative because Carolina's trying to play its way in, and a good way to play in is to beat Duke, your arch rival, one of the top teams in America. And Duke, as luck would have it for UNC, is without one of the best players in the nation, if not the best player in the nation. He could be the number 1 pick next year in Cooper Flagg. So I'm going to sit here and obsess over this for the next 2 hours.
Of course you are.
Do you want to still do the show, or you want me to just leave?
You would like to leave, correct?
I'm kidding. No,
Somebody's got to do it.
Yeah.
I won't obsess over it like that. But if you're an SDSU fan, root for Duke.
Okay. Yeah, root for Duke, even though there's no Cooper Flagg.
Yeah.
What other bubble teams are we rooting for, John? Or rooting for?
I mean, some of the biggest games for San Diego State are tonight here in Vegas because it's New Mexico. You want them to beat Boise, although Boise has everything to play for, and arguably New Mexico doesn't. And then you want Utah State over Colorado State, even though arguably Utah State doesn't need it and Colorado State needs it. I mean, I don't know if it's a worst case scenario, but from like a bid stealing scenario, it is. If Boise State plays Colorado State tomorrow night, that's likely a bid stealer. Because I don't know if Boise State or Colorado State are in the field without winning the Mountain West Conference tournament.
Yeah, pretty simple. Go Utah State, go New Mexico.
And go Duke.
Ugh.
I know. It's hard to say. I know. When you put all your eggs in the Duke basket, it could be a problem.
It'd be much easier if they had Cooper Flagg, but of course they don't, right?
Yeah, why would he be? After this unbelievable record-breaking freshman year for one of the best teams in college basketball like history. Of course, he sprained an ankle yesterday in a win over Georgia Tech. All right, Duke, Carolina underway. We'll keep our eye on all these bubble matchups, and we will have Rocco Miller, our bracketologist, joining us coming up at 4:30. But right now, let's get to this.
It's time for The Wrap, presented by Sombrero Mexican Food. Check out their website at sombreromex.com.
All right, do you guys think the Aztecs have better or worse than a 50-50 chance of hearing their name called on Sunday?
I think it's as close to 50-50, but with a slight edge, like to them being selected. So I'd say 55-45, they get in.
55-45?
Yeah.
I mean, I tend to agree with you, where it's far from a certainty. Like, what do I say? Are you getting on a plane with a 55% chance of landing? Jim's like, yeah, sure, it's going to land a lot.
Okay, you know what?
I'm like, keep me away from that plane. So, I mean, that's not a certainty, a 55-45, but it's better than 45-55, to Jim's point. I feel the same way. I mean, there's going to be a lot of twisting and turning over the next 48 hours. I'll feel good for a 2-hour block, and then I'll feel bad when, like, Carolina beats Duke, and so on and so forth.
Are you going to be able to concentrate on anything else?
Is that the whole question?
Yeah. I'm sure. Isn't Kristen with you?
She is, yeah.
Okay, so Kristen and Jones are with you. I'm sure you guys are going to be doing stuff. And while you're doing stuff, are you going to be able to concentrate on, like, I don't know, your family? Or will your, 95% of your mind be consumed solely on this scenario and all the games that are happening while you're out with your family?
Yeah, I feel bad. She's already, I need to step away. Like, I need to take a deep breath.
Put down the phone.
Put the phone down. I do. I really, honestly. I mean, this is like, I need like an intervention. I need
it consumes
like you.
us. I get it.
I need you and Brent and like Mary and like my stepmom. Like, I need this collection of individuals to like be in my home when I get home tomorrow and be like, John,
it's okay.
Everything's gonna be okay.
It's okay.
I'm with you. I think it's a coin flip. I think 55-45 is a coin flip. So I feel maybe slightly better than coin flip, but not a lot better. Big coin flip. Next question.
Your intervention will be at the Circus Sportsbook.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Would you guys rather win the Vetter Cup or the season series against the Dodgers?
Ooh, I like this question. I mean, it's the Dodgers. But don't get me wrong. I need to see the Vetter Cup go down to exit velocity. And then another great point that was mentioned in our chat. What if both teams have a player with the same exit velocity as the highest out there? So what if Tatis has a ball hit at 101.6 0.9 miles per hour, and then Julio Rodriguez has the same ball, 101.9 miles per hour? Like, what do they go to then?
You know what they do? They say no one cares.
I need answers. I need to know what the tiebreaker is to the tiebreaker.
Then they flip a coin with one side of the coin a Padres logo and the other side of the coin a Mariners logo.
Oh my gosh! Because that is something that could happen easily.
Bro, they're not going to have the same run differential, same EV.
It could happen, John. This is not.
Sure,
I don't think this is a one-off. What happens next year? What happens the year after that?
Here's the thing. I would rather win a Dodger season series 7-6 than sweep a Vetter Cup 6-0. Right?
Don't they only play? How many times do they play? 4 times, right?
They're playing 6 this year. They have 2 3-game series.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
it could tie 3-3.
Absolutely. Absolutely could be. Yeah. Okay.
Next question.
Who makes the Padres first? Leo DeVries or Ethan Salas?
So today is John? The Padres futures game, right? Against I almost said Oakland A's. Can't call them the Oakland A's anymore.
Yeah.
I don't have the box score in front of me, but
4-0, right? A's?
4-0 A's. I did see that. In our chat, it says Ethan Salas is over 2 at the plate. I don't know what Leo DeVries has done. I know he had a really hard hit ball his first at bat. Looking at Too Much Morton's because he's all over it. Yeah, first at bat, 102 miles per hour off the bat of DeVries. I'm gonna say Leo DeVries. I think Ethan Salas is gonna need much more time in the minors I just do. I think defensively, he is absolutely on the cusp and at the door. But offensively, I don't think he's close. And hopefully he proves us wrong this year, proves me wrong this year, and has a good year offensively in the minors. But if he hits like 220 again, John, this year, there's going to be concern, right?
Wait a second. Yes, there's concern. And here's the other concern. You're getting no hit in the breakout game by the A's in the 6th inning.
Oh, no. I did not see that.
So let me get this straight. You have a lineup with, I thought these were like the biggest names in the sport. Salas, DeVries, Hightower, right? Castanon. This loaded system, a volcano of hot lava. And you're getting no hit by the A's prospects. Here's how I feel about it. If Salas was 2 for 2 today, I say start him in the big leagues. But he's 0 for 2, so start him in A-ball. And DeVries is 0 for 2. I say you get rid of DeVries. This is an embarrassment. You can't get no hit by the A's prospects.
That's a good point.
Okay?
That's a good point. I mean, it's a bad look, guys.
That's only 6th inning, but you can't be getting no hit in a breakout game. The whole point is to break out.
So the Padres do play a night game against the, I almost said the name on the hat, the Texas Rangers.
Right.
6:40 in Peoria. Nick Pivetta on the mound.
Yeah.
For the
Can't
Padres.
get no hit in that. Can't get back-to-back no hits.
So let me get this straight. The Padres are getting no hit in their here's our greatest prospects ever game. And the team is 5-14 in Cactus League.
Other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play?
I would love, and I know this doesn't matter at all. I know we'll get to the last question. I would love to see the records, and it doesn't matter. I get it, but I'm just a sicko. I need to see the records of all the playoff teams Cactus Leagues last year.
No, you don't, dude. You don't need to see that.
Well, I just want to see, was anybody this bad in Cactus League to make the postseason? Come on, John, you got to think about it, right?
No, I haven't thought about it once. Next question.
Will Dylan Cease be with the Padres for the entire season?
I'm going to go with a very hopeful yes, because that means that they're good. I don't think Preller's going to make the same mistake twice. I hope not, if this team is not good at the deadline. So I'm banking on them being actually a contending team this year and fighting for a wild card spot. So I say yes.
I say yes. I'm not definitive on it, but I feel optimistic on it. Cautiously, I think the Padres will be in it. I really do. Yeah, I don't know how good they'll be, but I think they'll be good enough to at least be competing for a playoff spot at the end of July. All right, Rocco Miller, bracketologist, bracketeer.org. He's been with us a couple of times this winter. He will join us for a final time coming up at 4:30, and we'll hear from him how yesterday impacted San Diego State. What was the impact of that loss yesterday by the Aztecs against Boise State? What are their true chances of getting in to the NCAA tournament? Kevin Acee will join us coming up at 5. Max Bretos, who is going to be on the call this weekend, Snapdragon Stadium for Apple TV, MLS Season Pass, SDFC, Columbus Crew. He'll join us coming up at 5:30. And again, we continue to react to San Diego State on the bubble, and also the Padres and the introduction of their new chairman of John Seidler. We're here until 6 p.m. Stay with us on Jon and Jim. Right, keep up with San Diego Sports 760 anytime, anywhere, whether you're stepping out of the car or settling in at home. Just ask your Google or Alexa smart speaker to play AM 760 or stream it live through the iHeartRadio app. It's never been easier to stay connected with your favorite shows like this one. San Diego Sports 760 goes where you go. Our bracketologist, Rocco Miller, for a final time this season, will join us coming up at 5:30. And coming up at 5 p.m., Kevin Acee, our Padres insider. Do you feel as if our conversation with Kevin on John Seidler has come to a resolution, Jim? Like, are we done with the line of questioning on John for the time being? I mean, there'll be plenty of time, presumably, moving forward. This isn't the last we're going to discuss John Seidler. But, like, is our conversation with Kevin, based on his conversation with John Seidler, over for you or not?
I do think it's over. I don't think, I guess, dwelling on it after today with him is necessary. Like, we've said what we need to say. We've given our opinion on it. I do stand by everything I feel with shouldn't have led with the Dodger thing. I don't care. I think it's a bad look. I don't like the fact that he didn't speak to the entirety of the media and that it was a one-on-one sit down with just Kevin. I don't like that. And I'm also on the side of, like, hey, man, you're going to need to show me with your actions before I fully can trust you here. You said some really good things in that article about the Padres. No doubt about it. He definitely was very well prepped on some things that he needed to say about the Padres. But look, if you're only going to be doing a sit-down one-on-one with Kevin, that's not going to do it for me. It's got to be by your actions. And if they don't match up with your words, then I'm sorry. Until then, I'm going to be at an arm's length distance for John Seidler. And I'd be that with anybody, honestly. I mean, like I said, if it was Shield, whoever it is, right? I would just be at an arm's length distance. You know what I was thinking about too, John?
What's that?
What if, this is the hypothetical, what if John Seidler's name was like Max Duggan or something?
Max Duggan.
I don't know. Just a random name, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would you look at these quotes differently?
Man, that is a really good question. I don't know if I look less favorably on them because of his last name. Like, I'm understanding of the situation he's in because of his last name, because Peter was in a similar situation where you don't control that your grandfather was the owner of the Dodgers and moved the team out west.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I mean, maybe I'd look at it even more. Maybe I'd critique even further, Jim, if it was a brand new last name that I didn't have any familiarity with, and they then discuss their affinity or fanhood for the Dodgers growing up. Truthfully,
I just think that there's a huge, especially from the fan base, a huge benefit of the doubt because he has the last name Seidler, is what I'm saying.
I got you. Yeah. No, I think, I agree with that. That was what I was trying to say. Yeah. I agree with that.
And I don't think there should be a benefit of the doubt just because his last name is Seidler, to be honest with you. And I think that because his last name is Seidler, I think people are latching onto that more than the words that are spoken by John.
Mm-hmm.
I think people are just kind of overlooking that and saying, like, oh, dude's a baseball fan. Let's go. Love it. Love it. He's a baseball fan. It's great that he's a baseball fan, but he also doesn't want to do this. He never wanted to do this. He kind of was thrust into this position. So how is he going to react to a position that he never wanted in the first place? Like that's where my questions lie. And can he show with his actions that, he's going to operate the same as it was with Peter, like he said? Are they going to operate the same and spend the same type of money? Probably not. But are they still going to spend money? Are they going to sign Jackson Merrill? Hell, are they going to give out money to Michael King? Like, what are you going to do to show that your words are going to match up with your actions? And right now, I think there's a big benefit of the doubt given to John just because it's his last name and he was, honest with everybody, that people have to wait for actions to happen really before I can fully trust him.
Yeah, I think it comes with some good in that your last name is Seidler, and I think it comes with some bad that that's your last name, because the bar is so high based on Peter's reputation and desire to win. That's hard to equal or surpass. Peter did things for this organization that hadn't been done and probably won't be again. There'll never be a top two spender in the sport would be my guess moving forward, not under this ownership group, maybe at some point in the future if someone else comes in with like a silver spoon. So the good news is you're tied to the Seidler name. That gives you goodwill and trust, I think, for a lot of people. The bad news is the bar is so incredibly high. It's not fully like taking over for like Bill Belichick after Belichick left. It's not like they've won 6 or 7 World Series, but the owner that followed
And that
Peter
guy's already out too, by the way.
Exactly. Or the announcer after the announcer. Like, that's not the easiest thing in the world to necessarily be. So I understand that. And I'll give John Seidler like a fair shake, so to speak. I really will. I'm not going to say, oh, they're 0-2. Change ownership.
No.
I mean, that's so stupid. But John Seidler also has to do his part in like giving the fan base a fair handshake. Like he's got to be committed like they are to him. And that means when it's tough to be committed, you're willing to dive deeper and go further all in. Like you said, extensions or free agency or front office. Like it's hard to compete in the major leagues when there's teams like the Yankees and the Dodgers out there. So to put yourself in a position where you can compete to some extent, you're going to have to do some things like your brother did. And that's not necessarily going to be the case. Maybe it will be. Maybe they'll prove not me wrong, but maybe they'll do it with their actions. But until they do it with their actions, jury's out.
I also think it's a question to be not had, but like just to ponder is when S hits the fan, what's going to happen? Like, how is he going to react? Because eventually that will happen. This is not going to be a smooth ride for his entire tenure as control person of the team. There's going to be bumps and dips and everything in between. And when S hits the fan, how is he going to react? And how is he going to handle it? It's all great right now. Coming off a 93-win season, you have things in place. But what happens when this team starts losing or going through another manager or a GM? Like, are you trusting of John Seidler to find the new person? Because AJ won't be here forever, and Schulte won't be here forever, and Eric Grubner won't be here forever. And guess who it falls on to replace those guys? A lot of John Seidler. So what's going to happen then? That's why I say, guys, might be best to have an arm's length distance here in fully trusting this guy, just because he said some nice things about the Padres and how much he loves the team now after being a Dodger fan forever, with Kevin in the controlled environment. Let's wait and see what the actions are of the new owner.
Yeah, it also remains to be seen how long John Seidler will represent ownership as a chairperson. He's 63. It's not old. He could do it for a decade, but he could also do it for a shorter period of time than that. All right, we'll switch gears back to Selection Sunday and March and Bracketology with Rocco Miller, Field of 68, Bracketeer.org. His thoughts on where San Diego State now stands after losing in the quarterfinals yesterday to Boise State. Also his thoughts on what UC San Diego needs to do this weekend in the Big West Conference Tournament. Rocco Miller on the other side. Kevin Acee at 5 p.m. on Jon and Jim.
This update is brought to you by Staples Stores. San Diego State losing their first round game against Boise State in the Mountain West Conference tournament yesterday. They will now have to wait for Selection Sunday to hear if their name will be called. You can listen to the selection show right here on San Diego Sports 760 on Sunday afternoon at 3 p.m. And San Diego FC plays Columbus Crew tomorrow night at Snapdragon Stadium. 7:30 is when the match will get underway. Our pregame starts at 7 p.m. with Adrian Garcia Marquez and Darren Smith on the call on San Diego Sports 760. Your local Staples has hot deals and super low prices throughout the store on everything for your business. And right now at Staples, save up to $250 off your print order. Exclusions do apply. Visit staples.com/print for details. Ends April 5th. Plus, save even more with the Easy Rewards program at Staples.
All right, there's no one I want to talk to more right now in the world. This includes family, Jim, then Rocco Miller.
All yours, pal. You got this, John.
I don't. Yeah, Jim, get at it.
Yeah.
We don't even need Jim, but Jim, go get some food. Go to 7-Eleven. Rocco Miller back with us. I think third time this year as we're heading down towards Selection Sunday. Less than 48 hours now. He does an amazing job. Bracketeer.org, Field of 68. You can follow on social media as well. So, Rocco, break this down for us. For Aztec fans that are going to have a nervous next couple of hours, next couple of nights, what do their chances look like now? We know that they lost to Boise State. We know that that's going to happen. So it comes down to an at-large resume here for the Aztecs against others trying to get into this field. Lay it out for us right now where San Diego State fits into this puzzle. And as always, we appreciate your time.
Yeah, it's great to be on with you guys. I got a little bit of practice with this last night, actually, because I returned back late from Las Vegas. And while I was waiting at the airport, I was surrounded by a lot of grumpy Aztecs fans that for the first time since 2007 left the Mountain West tournament after one game. It's been an incredible run. But yeah, let's talk about this year's bubble. So with San Diego State and a slew of other teams here right at the end of the cut line before we jump into the teams that are not in yet, there's a bigger quantity of teams this year than I can remember seeing that just have different holes in their resume for different reasons, whether it be too many losses or not enough road wins or not a good enough road win or poor records in quad one. These teams are very different. They're all different entities, and that's how they're viewed by the committee. But, I think that's what makes me feel so good about San Diego State is the fact that you go back and you look at their body of work. They beat Houston and Creighton in Thanksgiving time period at the NIL tournament. They have a UC San Diego win on opening night, which again, it's just a home win, but that turns out to be pretty important because, one of the things I've recognized about the committee over the years, especially recent years, and last year being kind of the biggest year, when it comes to the Mountain West, I think what a lot of the members are looking to see is what can you do outside of the Mountain West? And I think, that's where a team like Colorado State has a lot of issues right now because they just only really have a win over TCU. That's significant. Well, San Diego State's quite different. They have a national schedule. They are the premier program of the conference for good reason. Just all the stability for multiple decades, a national championship game appearance allows them to get into an event like the Players and beat Houston and Creighton. And then, of course, within the Mountain West, on top of the UC San Diego home win, they added a New Mexico home win, which matters a lot. And they swept Boise in the regular season. So I think that's important to remember because they lose to Boise yesterday, but they already had 2 wins against that team. So you've already proven to the committee that you're 2 out of 3 and should certainly be above Boise State. And I think the 6 overall wins that I listed, those are wins against the cut line combined with a 9-6 record, which is really good for the bubble away from Viejas. I think San Diego State's in a great spot to get picked. So I'm going to reassure everybody that I feel that way. Now, I think the big variable is what do they do seeding wise? Because, some of their power numbers that would start with the net is 51, not the strongest by any means. That might be enough to push San Diego State down to a trip to Dayton. Just to warn you, that's very, very much in play now. But to be completely removed from the field, I just do not see that.
All right, you've calmed my nerves a bit, not fully. And
Thank
Aztec
you.
listeners right now on San Diego Sports 760. All right, Rocco Miller does a phenomenal job with this. He's been with us over the years. Bracketeer.org, Field of 68. Let me ask you this, Rocco, because this is where sometimes I get additional anxiety, just as a college basketball fan and just watching it outside the P4. If there is a bid stealer specifically in the Mountain West, right, very possible right now with Boise State and Colorado State, if you would determine both of them to be quote-unquote bid stealers, is that overly impactful to San Diego State because they're in that league? And I know the committee doesn't look at it from a league, this league can only get this many spots. I know they say that. Is that accurate? Like, is it more penalizing if the bid is stolen within your own league or not, in your opinion?
That's a fair question. I think there are examples where that could actually come into play. But the letter of the law, it's supposed to have no distinction. And, every once in a while you can go back and retrace the committee steps on how certain decisions were made and come up with a theory where maybe there was some horse trading going on. All right, we'll get your team in, but not the second one, and vice versa. But I think in this particular case, like I said, because of the reasons that San Diego State's overall body of work is just so much more stellar than most of these bubble options, I just don't see a scenario where, regardless of if Colorado State, who does have a great draw, or Boise State cuts down the nets tomorrow, you can leave them out. They're just not that close. I think Indiana, Xavier, North Carolina, West Virginia, Oklahoma, Baylor, Vanderbilt, like all those teams, I think are way more at risk. Just my own view, and I understand it's a 12-person committee, and they've got to get enough votes to outvote the other options, but I think they will. And then what ends up happening at the end, once San Diego State's in the field, a whole other process begins with actually seeding these teams, and we can go through it's called a scrubbing exercise where they can get scrubbed down on some of those power numbers, and that's the risk of them ending up in Dayton. But yeah, I think for the Mountain West Conference as a whole, certainly the league's rooting for the Broncos or the Rams to cut down the nets, because I really do believe that will get the league to 4 bids this season.
Rocco Miller with us right now on Jon and Jim. What I think sometimes people fail to recognize that are fans of the sport, and they see some of these numbers and they think that it's the end all be all. They see a net number and they're like, oh, our net went up or our net went down. I think you've laid it out pretty well in some of the work that I've watched you do, some of your content, where you got to have a resume for those predictive metrics, like those net type numbers, to matter, right? Like you could have a high net, but if your record is 15-16, that's not getting you into the NCAA tournament. Vice versa, you can't have a really good record in a net of 160. But like from a San Diego State perspective, you've laid it out. It's like they've done the work on the basketball court to support their selection into the field. From there, the metrics are going to matter from a seeding perspective. Do I have that right?
Yeah, that's a great summary. And I think, we saw it with Rutgers a couple of years ago. Rutgers had a net of 80.
Right.
But when in their league, they just went on a tear on the road. And it's always about who did you play, where did you play, and how did you do? And the committee chairman, I don't care how many decades you go back, probably since the 90s and 80s, back, they had RPI for almost all those years. But I think that's been the core policy with making sure you get the right at-large teams in, because that's their biggest job. If you mess up a seed, everybody can live with that. You're still going to watch your team in March Madness, and it's a huge opportunity for the players, the coaches, everybody involved with the program. So the one thing the committee cannot mess up is having the wrong team in. And maybe you miss on a team or two, but it's after a very thorough exercise. And there's actually a subcommittee for the bubble. So there's people just diving into these bubble teams left and right, more than one person can do, and bringing that to the committee members to bring up. Almost like having a stats person on a network. And so everything's going to be unearthed about these teams. And I think that actually helps San Diego State this year. And yeah, you're 100% right about the net itself is actually more for you to sort your opponent's data with. So again, if you played Gonzaga, which San Diego State did, they lost the game, but that's a number 8 game in the net. That applies more to you than it does to Gonzaga, because it's basically just telling the committee how difficult that game was, because the net is a collection of different power numbers combined with your non-conference strength of schedule and efficiency data. So it's not necessarily being a resume tool, but it is trying to delineate who the toughest teams are. And a lot of that, comes back to the final score. So that's why you see the teams Like Gonzaga, when they win games, they win by 20 plus all the time, and nobody's blowing them out. Like they've lost all close games. So that hopefully that explains it.
Yeah, it explains it well. A couple of more for you, Rocco, before you go. We know it's busy. We're less than 48 hours out. And I think I asked you this maybe a couple of weeks ago because Magoon Guath has been out, right? And the Aztecs without him, I obviously haven't played as well as when they had him. He was playing like one of the best two-way players, certainly in the Mountain West, if not in the West or even the country. And now Brian Dutcher said post-game that they expect to have him for postseason play. He warmed up in Las Vegas. The Dutchers had always said from day one, we will never put a player at risk. If our season's on the line, we'll never put a player at risk. And they didn't, to their credit. But they do believe with an additional 3 or 4 days, they can get him ready. Is it a benefit that he's expected to be back? Is it a knock that he's been out? And that question is up in the air.
Yeah, so it definitely will get discussed. And if because Coach Dutcher put that statement out publicly, that's basically how you just said it was how they're going to say it in the room. But, from there, you can't really prove, that they would have won the game that he or any of the games that the Aztecs lost that he missed. It's just something to be noted because if they do expect to have him back, we'll factor that in for whatever it's worth. That's the really interesting about the injury when it comes up in the room, no matter what team it's about, because most of these teams throughout the year have either suffered an injury or had illnesses or, it's a long season. So it just can be taken into account, but we just don't know. And there's no really way to quantify how much it means to a member. So the way I do it for the forecast is basically just try to treat all the results equal and kind of base it on that alone, because again, just because you lost a game without a player doesn't mean you would have won it. You can't prove that.
Right.
And, but I find it fascinating though, because we did have that year several years ago where Notre Dame should have been way out of the field, but because Bonzie Colston, I think he was coming back from an injury after missing several months, they had Notre Dame as the first team out. And if there wasn't a bid steal that year, Notre Dame would have been in. So ever since that year, I've taken it very seriously. I just don't know what to do about it if, how the committee's going to view it, because there is no quantifiable number or result to look at with it. It's just subjective.
Rocco, before you go, our listeners that are UC San Diego fans, Triton alumni, obviously are intrigued by what's going to play out here beginning tonight in the Big West tournament in Henderson. How would you break this down? Is tonight a must-win for UC San Diego? If they win tonight, is tomorrow a must-win for UCSD?
It's a great question, and it's one that I hope I don't have to deal with. But because I absolutely love this Tritons team. I've been with them 4 or 5 games this year down there in Daytona Beach for their tournament, and man, it's just such a joy to watch them. The nation on the national level needs to see this team. But just got to play out the scenario. So a loss to UC Santa Barbara, they're sitting there at 136 in the net. That would be a third quad 3 loss to go with the Seattle U and the UC Riverside losses. That would make things very unpleasant, of course, for the Tritons. The thing that is really keeping them above water overall are the 2 quad 1 road wins. At Utah State is huge. At UC Irvine's tremendous. UC Irvine hadn't lost a home game in 2 years. So I think there's still enough they'll be really a true cliffhanger if they lost tonight. And you would hate to see that. Because typically in that situation, it doesn't usually benefit the non-power teams, let's just say. Right. But I think if they get tomorrow and they play Irvine and it's a good game, which we expect that'll be another classic between those two, and Irvine gets the better of them, I think they're in.
All right. I'm up against it, but I asked you this weeks ago. I'll ask it again. If they lost to Irvine, do they impact San Diego State? And how does San Diego State compare to UC San Diego from an at-large perspective?
Yeah, it's a good question. So right now they have in the strength of resume, which is probably the one that's been the best leaned on by the committee over the years. SDSU's 46 and UC San Diego's 48. And then in the new WAB tool, San Diego State comes in at 44, and UC San Diego 47. So I think San Diego State's probably safer based on that. But I do think there would be room for both, assuming we don't get too much chaos elsewhere. But yeah, that's gonna be tough. And let's just hope UC San Diego can take care of business because, like I said, the country needs to see this team.
No doubt. Hopefully we see both San Diego State and UC San Diego in the tournament. And again, in a quote-unquote worst case, imagine San Diego State and UC San Diego both being a date, not against each other. They've played this year already, but imagine that to begin March Madness. Rocco, thank you. Appreciate it. Great work. We're looking forward to this weekend, and thanks for taking time for San Diegans.
Yeah, anytime, you guys. Love these teams, and let's see what happens here.
Great stuff. Rocco Miller, Bracketeer.org. Jim, I really thought your line of questioning was significant because we wouldn't have gotten to that otherwise.
What question did you like of mine the best?
The question of what did you get in the vending machine? Like Reese's Peanut Butter Cups?
No, I listened to the entire interview.
I know. I saw.
Do you feel better now?
I mean, Rocco is really good, dude. I followed his work for years and years and years now. Nobody's perfect. It's up to the committee. But do I feel better for a moment? But I'll twist and turn every hour from now until Sunday.
Yeah, because there's a lot that can still happen between today and tomorrow. Thankfully, though, if you're looking at the Duke Carolina game,
don't do it.
Don't do it.
All right, on the other side.
Oh, sorry.
Call right now if you Jim. You're so. Oh my gosh.
What? I was just giving you an update on the
North
score.
Carolina's 31-0 run propelled them to a 99-49 win.
So everyone just blame me now, like usual.
That's what I'm gonna do.
Okay.
All right. Call. Who wants 2 free tickets to see the Pixies at Gallagher Square, Petco Park, August 27th? Call right now if you want them. 2 free tickets to see the Pixies here in San Diego, August 27th, Gallagher Square, Petco Park. Call 877-767-4760. Call right now. 877-767-4760. Call right now. First 2 callers will play trivia for a chance to win those Pixies tickets. 877-767-4760. Call right now. That's next on Jon and Jim. right, Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. Kevin Acee coming up in 10 minutes will join us. And then Max Brentos will be on the call. Apple TV, MLS Season Pass for San Diego FC, Columbus Crew coming up Saturday night at Snapdragon Stadium. Again, a reminder, who's in, who's out. Tune in to San Diego Sports 760 Sunday at 3 for the Selection Sunday Show hosted by Jason Horowitz, former head coach PJ Carlissimo. Find out the fate of this year's bubble teams, including the Aztecs, Sunday at 3 right here on San Diego Sports 760. So how do you feel, Jim, after listening to what we just listened? I mean, you truly listened to it because I was interviewing Rocco. So after you hear Rocco say what he has to say, has it changed your opinion at all? Your how about like your 50-50 proposition, your 55-45 proposition from earlier? Has that changed at all after listening to Rocco today?
A little.
Okay.
I still feel good. Everybody that not we, but you have talked to and that I've listened, has been, nothing but high praise for the Aztecs and fairly confident with their, standing as far as if they are going to make the tournament or not. So it's not like everybody we talk to is like, yeah, this is going to be tough for them. It's like, yeah, there's still work to be done, but as of right now, they're in good standing. They're in a good position. They have a good resume that they can present to the selection committee. And with that, if they are, like I said, if they are in Dayton, I'm fine. It's okay. This is not about seeding this year. This is 100% about, making the tournament and being able to say that you have made how many straight tournaments in a row? Would be 6. Like
this would be 2020 didn't exist. So
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This would be a 5th if you count 2020 as 6th.
Right. So 5 straight years of making the NCAA tournament, even if they're in a playing game in Dayton, like totally fine with that. I am all good.
Do you find it interesting that this San Diego State UC San Diego thing could actually be like on a collision course where they're both like
I hope not
on a knife's edge here on Selection Sunday?
Yeah, I hope not, because the last thing you want is not the last thing, but I mean, if
Last thing you want is one in, one out, right?
Right. We want both of them in.
Yeah.
But especially if you're the Aztecs, the trolls are waiting, man. The trolls are waiting. I know it's not a big deal. Who cares?
Oh, right. If UC San Diego's in, then the Aztecs are out. Well, of
Yeah.
course, they could do that by winning their league.
They could, yeah. And I think that would be a great thing for them. And as Rocco says, like the country deserves to see them play basketball. And it just would be so great for the city to have
so cool.
those two programs in, along with the Aztecs women's program already in. I mean, when's that happened? Never, right? So that would be an amazing accomplishment to have, both men's teams in the tournament and the Aztecs women's team in the tournament. That should be great for the city.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. San Diego, now, of course, we've had UC, we've had USD in the tournament before, but never in the history of the city have 2 Division I teams been in the NCAA tournament. So San Diego State and USD were never in the same year. And, of course, UCSD just got Division I eligibility for postseason play this year for the NCAA tournament. So I'm with you. I think it would be an absolute home run for the city. And now we wait. I mean, that's all we can do. We wait. UC San Diego's playing tonight right here. I'm in Vegas. They're going to play tonight in Vegas. Needing 1 win to get to the Big West title game where they would likely play, not a guarantee. UC Irvine needs to win tonight, but they would likely play UC Irvine, who they split with in the regular season. All right, Kevin Acee in Peoria. What's he paying attention to today? Is it the Padres prospects who finally have a hit against the A's prospects, or is it the game that's going to happen tonight where the Padres are taking on the Rangers under the lights at 6:40? We'll catch up with Kevin. The reaction to his article on John Seidler, I do want to ask him about that. What reaction has he received from the piece he wrote on the new chairman of the San Diego Padres? Plus, we'll get into some of this roster crunch with opening day less than 2 weeks away. Kevin Acee, our Padres insider, to kick off hour 4 of Jon and Jim next.
All right, this update's brought to you by Staples Stores. San Diego State basketball, they're going to have to wait until Sunday at 3 p.m. to see if their name will be called, as they lost to Boise State in their opening round game of the Mountain West Conference Tournament. Of course, you can listen to the Selection Sunday show right here at 3 p.m. And tomorrow night, San Diego FC takes on Columbus Crew. Snapdragon Stadium, 7:30 is when the match will get underway. Our pregame starts at 7 p.m. right here on San Diego Sports 760. Your local Staples has hot deals and super low prices throughout the store on everything for your business. And right now at Staples, save up to $250 off your print order. Exclusions do apply. Visit staples.com/print for details. Ends April 5th. Plus, save even more with the Easy Rewards program at Staples.
Getting you all set for that drive home. Let's just start the show. Here's Jon and Jim.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is the final hour of Jon and Jim, and spring training is nearing its conclusion. We've got 13 days. We're inside of 2 weeks. And today is an interesting day with this spring breakout game going on right now between Padres prospects and A's prospects, and then the Padres play later tonight as well against the Rangers. Kevin Acee is our Padres insider, and he's back with us right now on Jon and Jim. Kevin, we appreciate you taking a few minutes. We know you're covering both the spring breakout game and the game tonight. I just wanted to end our conversation from Wednesday here by just asking what kind of reaction you have gotten. We get reaction on everything, doing sports talk radio, social media, and otherwise. Has there been much reaction one way or the other based on your profile on the Padres' new chairman of John Seidler? And thanks for joining.
Almost exclusively positive, and I say only that because I don't want to misrepresent it, but because all I can remember is that I got positive feedback. I saw, after speaking with you guys, I saw that there was some that people that agreed with you guys, but almost exclusively positive.
Kevin, moving on to what everyone loves to talk about is bubble watch. I know those are some words.
Let's say bubble with March Madness.
Yeah, Jon doesn't like hearing those words, but with the Padres in particular here, guys that are on the bubble to make this team, who would you put in that category right now?
Well, there's a lot of guys because, seriously, the pinch competition, and of course, every team's going to want you to believe it. So I've even been reluctant to ask the Padres about it because it sounds like it's just cliche, but their competition for those spots has just been fantastic. Whether we're talking about the fifth spot, mostly, Vasquez had a really good day today in a AAA game. Walder will pitch tonight, and Hart and Kolek. It's a good competition for the final bullpen spot. And then guys like Sheets, Gurriel, Iglesias, veteran guys that are fighting to make this team. Brandon Lockridge, he deserves to be on this team. Will he? Is there a spot for him? Tyler Wade. You would think it's guaranteed to be on based on his importance that they say, but is he? I don't want to. Who am I leaving out? There's 8 guys for 5 spots, and then you'd have to include, of course, Camposano, Maldonado. Which one of those guys will be the second catcher? Maldonado finally got a hit yesterday, but I'm telling you, this last week is going to be really crucial. And you got, Eddie Rosario doesn't have options. Wade doesn't have options. Can't be sent to the minors. They're on this team or likely elsewhere. All those guys I mentioned, the veteran guys that signed minor league contracts, they have opt-outs at the end of spring, and they've all played well enough to have another job somewhere, probably. And so, crucial week coming up. And I think in San Diego, fans should think this was really important because you only have to look to last year to see how important the bench was.
That's a really good point. By the way, final spring game for the Padres is the 24th. So 10 days, and then they'll have 2 days before they take on Atlanta on the 27th. Kevin Acee is our Padres insider. So I know you're tracking this breakout game. I want to say the Padres were maybe no hit into the 7th inning, where they scored a couple of runs. I see Leo DeVries has a base hit. I don't know what he did. I'm just looking at the box score here quick. Ethan Salas has a base hit and a run scored. Are there any takeaways from what's playing out here between the A's prospects and the Padres prospects tonight?
These games are so hard. It's like watching those All-American games, the showcase games. These are for scouts, man, to see certain attributes of certain players. There was a nice play between Salas and DeVries that, you could easily say, okay, these guys will be in the majors in a few years. Oh, that's exciting to see. But you know what? Those guys were in spring training for so long that, well, we saw that, right? So, there really isn't, man. Like,
yeah, I get it. I get it. That's why I asked.
Covering, and you gave me way too much credit for what I'm doing with this game. I covered a really bad Padres tape there. So I'm really happy that I cover a major league organization now. But you know what? This is cool that they get to play like this in the stadium, and it's very important to the Padres organization.
Kevin, John Heyman reporting that about 9 teams have been in contact with the Padres expressing interest on Dylan Cease. Well, my question here, Kevin, is like, how important is it for this team to not only, compete this year? Because I feel like Dylan Cease will be the number 1 pitcher on the market if around the trade deadline they're not, competing, and the pressure will be heavy on the Padres to maybe make a move.
Yep. If they're not competing, that's when they can save their money, right? They can get under the CBT. They can get some cash off the books, and you would at least consider that like the victory of the season, right? Like if they're on pace for 70 or 80 wins and out of the playoffs, they will almost definitely, I would bet almost anything, they will just unload at the trade deadline, because I've talked to people about they've always got contingencies, right? And that would be one of them. So look, this is such a big year. This is such a big year that the closer we get to the season and the more that they hold out, the more confident you have to be that Dylan Cease will be here as long as they are a contender.
Yeah, completely agree. I just don't.
I said last week, someone blows them away because they lose their minds and they need Dylan Cease, then maybe they could do it because they believe, all right, they can do it with Darvish, King, Pivetta, and our next 2 guys. But that's not how they're acting right now.
All right, another important subject is the Vetter Cup. Do you have any reaction to the Vetter Cup against the Mariners now becoming official?
I think that this was a huge day for manufactured events that were foisted upon us.
Yes.
And that were driven by social media and Major League Baseball. And I'm joking because, of course, both the prospect game, which is just another game between minor leaguers, and the Vetter Cup, they're just not real things. But I think it's freaking cool. That was my first reaction, and it's my reaction now. Is okay, it's been this thing that has been really cool to a lot of people to talk about and been beaten to the ground. And now they have one of the greatest musicians of all time who has actually, going to lend his name to it and people can have fun with it. That's about the last thought I'll give to it until I am breathlessly awaiting the deciding game of this 6-game series between the teams and which team is going to get this guitar.
Well, I do have something for you, Kevin. During that potential 6th game, whoever gets the guitar, if this thing goes down to a tiebreaker, I don't know if you saw this, run differential is number 1. And if it's the same run differential, we go into exit velocity. My question is what if you have 2 players on the same team with the same exit velocity? Then what?
I have not delved into this, but I got to imagine that the brains on these 2 organizations have come up with some sort of tiebreaker, like average exit velocity or something. And how awesome will that be that you're the person that has to figure that out?
Oh, man.
Yeah, exactly.
I vote for home run derby. That's what I vote for.
In the middle of the season for them to send out.
Yes.
They each get to send out their 2 least likely home run hitters to duke it out.
Martin Maldonado, go out there, buddy.
I
vote that they settle it in the World Series if it's tied at 3. I vote for the Mariners Padres World Series.
That would be actually pretty cool.
Pretty
right?
cool. That'd be pretty cool.
I don't know. I was thinking about that the other day because when I was at the at Surprise and the 2015 champions and the 2023 champions share a complex, and 2 teams that have never won a World Series share a complex here. And I think that'd be kind of cool if they met.
And aren't the Mariners the only active major league team that's never appeared in one?
I'm reasonably sure. Yes.
Yeah,
so at least
pretty
the Padres
sure.
do have 2. And the Padres
This is the year.
Unfortunately had the terrible fortune of playing two of the top 5 teams of all time when they've gone to the World Series.
No doubt. Well, this year it's going to be Mariners Padres now that they've unveiled this new promotion. Kevin,
oh man, the Better Cup. Oh, it'll overshadow the World Series.
It really will. Yeah, you're right.
Kevin, we appreciate you taking time. We know you are quote unquote covering this spring breakout game and then Padres baseball tonight. We'll do it again on Monday. All right.
Hey, thanks guys. See you.
Appreciate you, Kevin Acee, our Padres insider. Where I get it, I think I asked off the top, like, what's the reaction you've gotten? He's like, most of it's been positive. We've seen that too. I've seen a lot of this John Seidler reaction. We've seen both sides of it, Jim, but there's been a good amount of like positivity or pro Seidler since that article's been published by Kevin. I've seen it.
I have too. I've seen both sides. Like, it's people upset that I didn't like it, and then there's people that agree, and they're like, "Why did he say that?" You know, it just didn't. You didn't need to lead with that on day one. I think the bigger takeaway here for me after a couple days, like I said, are we sure we're going to trust this guy fully from day one? You know, like I'm going to need to see a little bit more here, especially since he didn't talk to the media in an uncontrolled environment, especially because, you know, it's so early on. You know, they still have to deal with this lawsuit going forward. If they don't hand out any more contracts to certain players, they let players walk. If they don't give Jackson Merrill a contract extension, you know, the best thing for John Seidler to really have everybody like me and you shut the hell up is he goes to AJ and says, go talk to Michael King, let's get a contract done, and I'm willing to write a check. You know, that is how you really ingratiate yourself to a fan base that doesn't know anything about you, is by doing something instead of talking. And the first thing you say is how much you love the Dodgers and that you didn't really want this job.
To your point, it's like your first move is an impactful one. Like if you're able to make that sizable, impactful decision, everything else is going to go by the wayside, including me and you. Like I'm not going to be overly critical in the first weeks and months of this tenure if one of the first moves is a Michael King extension, even if this team starts 22-22. If you open up the pocketbook and you got all those zeros on it, and Michael King's here for the next 5 years, and the team's 22-22, I'm not going to be blaming the owner who just gave out that massive deal in his first weeks of his tenure.
Yeah.
Now, again, that remains to be seen if something like that's possible or feasible or occurs, but that's the type of move I'm trying to make in the marketplace. Can I get Merrill extended? Can I get something done that people don't necessarily think I'm in the business of doing right now? And if so, you're going to win a lot of people over.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and be against John Seidler at all. Like I'm 100% more than willing, obviously, giving this guy the full chance that that they deserve, right? The person that steps in, got to give them a chance. Why on day one, if you're going to, say this guy sucks, you don't know anything about him. I can criticize things that he says, obviously, and that's my opinion. But I also am like, I do think the best course of action with him right now is to just keep an arm's distance from him as far as fully trusting this guy. Because, hey, he can be a fan. He can go to baseball games and stuff like that. But reading in between the lines, guy didn't want this. He didn't want to be in this position, which I find very odd that now he is the guy when he didn't want this. I don't know. Doesn't that seem a little weird to you?
It is a little odd. Yeah.
And the fact that there's been nothing done under his tenure that I can point to. It's been 2 days that I'm like, oh yeah, okay. There we go. Good stuff. Even Eric, I see that too. Even Eric Kusenda talked in an unscripted, media availability with multiple media members, not just one.
I actually thought he did a very fine job, if not a good job, in that one time he spoke for 15 or 20 minutes. I thought he represented himself,
right,
and the organization well. All right, Max Bretos will be on the call for SDFC and the Columbus Crew on Saturday night, a match you can hear right here on San Diego Sports 760. He'll be broadcasting on MLS Season Pass. He'll join us at 5:30. Much more on John Seidler taking over as chairman on the other side. Plus, what we'll give away coming up on the other side of this break is those Pixies tickets. Pixies, August 27th here in San Diego, Gallagher Square at Petco Park. The Pixies coming to San Diego. We have 2 free tickets we'll give away On the other side, we're here until 6 p.m. It's Jon and Jim. All right, so what could you do with an extra $75,000 right now, or even a couple $100,000? If you own a home, you can get that money in less than a week with Loan Pronto. Hey, guys, it is Schaefer. Loan Pronto is the leader in quickly converting your home equity into cold, hard cash, so you can pay off all your credit cards or start that home remodel. Loan Pronto has several easy options to let you access the cash from your home. There's virtually no paperwork, no cumbersome process, no junk fees, often no appraisal. Listen, the average homeowner now has over $300,000 in equity. That's your money. Use it. One client got $150,000 out and paid off all their credit cards, 2 car loans, and a personal loan, cutting their monthly expenses by $1,500. You can get approved in as little as 1 day. So act now with no hard credit pull up front. LoanPronto.com or 619-207-4336. Get the money you need for anything. 619-207-4336. LoanPronto.com. Equal housing lender. NMLS 1661781. Subject to lender approval. NMLSconsumeraccess.org. All right, Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. Max Bretos will be on the call for San Diego FC Columbus Crew Saturday, MLS Season Pass, a match you can hear right here. Adrian Garcia Marquez, Darren Smith will be on the call, so that's coming up in about 10 minutes. We also remind you the award show for fans is back. our iHeartRadio Music Awards Monday night. Fox and iHeartRadio stations across the country tune into Fox 5 Monday at 9 a.m. to hear the first award winner announced for the Alternative Album of the Year. Get all the info at iHeartRadio.com/awards and watch the show on Fox Monday at 5 p.m. All right, so with you until 6 p.m., we do have Jim's Back Page coming up. It's going to be a long weekend, Jim. It is going to be a long, sometimes like weekends fly by. You're like, man, we're just working.
Yeah.
But when you're waiting for Selection Sunday, like, what are you going to do? I know you're into this. Maybe not the same way I'm into it, but you're as curious as everyone else. You follow along all year. I mean, are you going to sit down, carve out the time, and just park yourself in front of the TV and with a bag of popcorn and just start watching and see what happens?
See, I thought you were going to say it's going to be a long weekend because the Padres lost again, this time in their, prospect game.
Does that count?
I don't know. Does it count?
I have no idea. Should we say it counts? It's like a half loss.
I mean, the Padres tweeted out a graphic. They've tweeted out so many L graphics this spring training. I mean, they haven't even had a chance to really make cool win graphics. They've only been tweeting out final from Peoria. The spring breakout game, they lost 5-2, John.
I know. No, you're right. I mean, it's like, how much of this do you put on John Seidler?
I mean,
none of it. That's what I put on.
I'm looking at the graphics that are posted out by the Padres X account, and the last 4 graphics for scores are all final 13-2 loss to the Rockies, final 6-5 loss to the Royals, and they're all the same. It's like final period. Today, final from the spring breakout loss to the A's 5-2. They better turn this thing around tonight, John. They better turn this thing around tonight.
I mean, it's I thought the most important part of our conversation with Kevin is what you asked about the roster crunch, because there are actually a lot of jobs up in the air, which I think is normal for spring training with a week or so to go. I think it's normal. 5th starters and back of bullpens and bench pieces. I think that's completely normal. Catcher spot, like a second catcher. I think that's, but it is how many jobs is that right now up in the air? We're talking about I'm making it up, Jim. Are there 6 of the 26 spots still up in the air? And if the answer is yes, that's over 25% of your opening day roster, or that is 25% of your opening day roster. If you say 1 catcher, 5th starter, 1 bullpen spot, let's say 2 or 3 bench pieces, that's 5-6 of your 26.
Kevin, every time I've asked something about the bench, he keeps on mentioning guys like Brandon Lockridge and obviously Tyler Wade. And I'm like, really? I don't know.
Right.
Obviously Kevin's there every single day and he's watched most of these games, right? But I'm still thinking to myself, Brandon Lockridge, huh? Okay. I get it. Speed guy, play multiple outfield positions, much better defensively in the outfield than Tirso Ornelas.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But as far as bats on your bench go, if you had a bench with Tyler Wade, Brandon Lockridge, and Martin Maldonado, 3 of your bench pieces.
Not stoking too much fear in the
that's
opposition.
Awful. That's not something I think you'd be comfortable with. I don't know. Maybe they are, but me looking at this team, I'd be like, I don't know about that one.
What about the idea that it's always a work in progress from day one to game
You're right.
62?
It always is.
It if
changes.
You start the year in April, you don't get production from your bench, it's probably not that hard to make change. And if you get off to a decent start, maybe you kind of stick with what's working. But I mean, your point's valid. I mean, I think the bench is less than desirable. And I think when you're trying to win on the margins, like I always say, you don't have the Profars and you don't have Joe Musgrove. You got some real losses here.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to need to have some gains, on the edges as well. So, I mean, I think I'm as fascinated as everyone else is. Is it replicatable? I don't even know if that's a word. Is what happened last year powerfuler? But isn't it a fair question to say, they won 93 games? Can that be replicated this year? That's a yes or no question. Is it possible to do that, and how? What's the formula to get there? I don't know the answer. Nobody knows the answer, but I think it's a fair question based on what they did last year. Can they be as good as they were last year or not?
Most questions, with this team this year revolve and end with, if, right?
Yep.
If they stay healthy, if guys have good years, if the rotation, stays healthy and puts up, good seasons. If Nick Pivetta does this, if. A lot of ifs. But that's also, a good thing because they have that ability. I'm not looking at the Marlins and saying if with them. I'm saying that their season ends on, what is it? March 27th, whenever their opening day is. Like the classic Family Guy meme. And the first pitch and the season's over. Like that's the Miami Marlins. That's not the San Diego Padres. The San Diego Padres have the talent to compete for a playoff spot, to compete for 90 plus wins. They do. They have it. It's just a matter of if. And if those things happen, then yeah, absolutely they can replicate it. But there's always questions with the team going forward, but they have the pieces. They're not the Marlins, they're not the Rockies, where
no doubt.
there's no even question. Hey, can this team compete for a playoff spot? Like, no, they can't.
Max Bretos will join us on the other side. Long time soccer voice, play-by-play caller. He's with MLS Season Pass. He'll call SDFC and Columbus Crew. He'll join us on the other side, but we promised you a pair of tickets to see the Pixies. The first caller to 877-767-4760 is going to see the Pixies August 27th, Gallagher Square at Petco Park. 877-767-4760. 2 free tickets to see the Pixies on August 27th. Max Bretos, Apple TV, joins us next.
This update's brought to you by Staples Stores. We'll start in the NFL. Breaking news today, Cooper Kupp signing a deal with the Seattle Seahawks to join Sam Darnold. Moving over to San Diego State. Last night, they lost their opening round game in the Mountain West Conference tournament to Boise State. They're going to have to wait for Selection Sunday to hear if their name will be called. You can listen to Selection Sunday right here on San Diego Sports 760 on Sunday afternoon at 3 p.m. And tomorrow night, SDFC takes on Columbus Crew at Snapdragon Stadium. 7:30 is when the match will get underway. Our pregame starts at 7 p.m. with Adrian Garcia Marquez and Darren Smith right here on San Diego Sports 760. Your local Staples has hot deals and super low prices throughout the store on everything for your business. And right now at Staples, save up to $250 off your print order. Exclusions do apply. Visit staples.com/print for details. Ends April 5th. Plus, save even more with the Easy Rewards program at Staples.
All right, Jon and Jim back with you. San Diego Sports 760 until 6 p.m. Jim's back page coming up, and also SDFC coming up tomorrow night. As you heard Jim just talk about, we have Max Bretos, who will be on the call tomorrow night. Apple TV, MLS Season Pass. SDFC trying to remain unbeaten on this young season, taking on the Columbus Crew. So, Max, we appreciate you taking time for us here in San Diego. And let's just start with this expansion franchise in SDFC. How surprising has it been for you to see the start they've gotten off to? And thanks for joining us today.
Great to be with you guys, Jon Jim. It's pretty surprising, but I guess now that we're like a month into it, maybe as you look at how they did everything, we shouldn't have been so surprised. The fact that Irving Lozano is out and they've started with undefeated in 3 games still is sending some shockwaves through the league. And you look at the way they have done it, it's you've got to be very confident and enthusiastic if you're a fan about the way they're building it. They didn't come in here red hot. I mean, they signed Chucky Lozano, but they didn't come in here and use all their tokens and all their resources to make this team really good season one, which could have been an option. But you can see the good foundation that they're setting. But they have a unique style, and it's been puzzling for teams to handle. And I think that is going to continue. I think we saw something similar like this when St. Louis came in. You have a high-pressing team that likes to possess, in this case, possess the ball. And it's befuddling teams in MLS. It's actually really interesting to see.
Yeah, I was going to go off of that, of just like their style of play has been, a very definitive style on the attack, as much as they possibly can. How does that for you, going forward for this team? How could you envision that working in their favor going forward this season?
I think it's a great idea. And I think when the new clubs come in, you generally want to play it pretty close to the vest because you're going to think we don't have the players, so we don't have a roster that is good against some of these teams that we're playing, like the Galaxy, like Real Salt Lake, certainly playing those teams away. But, they're going at it, and it's something that they're built to do long term, but in the short term, it's paying off. I will say you would have to think at some point this season, other teams might catch on to it. But if you can build some goodwill and get some good results, San Diego could certainly be a playoff team. It could be a great goal for this team. Again, this is a long-haul project. This is a club that's going to continue to be ambitious and use all the indicators of their this academy, the right to dream, their connections with Denmark. But to get off to this quick start is something that I think they're relishing in because I think they realize now's the time to do it. Go after it because teams are scratching their heads, and by the end of the season, I think I might be wrong, but I think it'd be easier to slow down San Diego because right now they have no idea where it's coming from, but they'll figure it out.
That's interesting. Max Bretos is with us. He'll call San Diego FC Columbus Crew tomorrow night on Apple TV MLS Season Pass. You mentioned the academy, the right to dream. For those that aren't terribly familiar with like American Major League Soccer, how unique is this for MLS, what San Diego FC is attempting to accomplish with their academy here?
Oh, it's singular. I mean, the right to dream reputation precedes it. It has had tremendous success, and it's done it for a long amount of time. And now that they're building, sorry, I'm still on the plane. I'm getting out here for some of the erroneous knows. But what they're doing to have that, to have an academy on the basis where kids can live and breathe soccer, no one's doing it. And, that's going to take a while for it to bear some fruit on the field, but it's going to work. This is something that this is a place that kids are going to want to play for or play at, whether they're in San Diego or they're overseas. And with the Right to Dream Academy, you're plugged into a lot of places outside of the United States. So they're going to get really good players. And with the plan that is in place, they're going to be able to develop them in an advanced stage. This is, again, unprecedented. There's no other team that's doing this in MLS. So it's going to give San Diego a leg up in developing players, selling players across the board, which is how you can separate yourself in Major League Soccer without question.
Max, what should San Diego FC fans, look for tomorrow night with the Columbus Crew? What kind of a team are they bringing in here to Snapdragon Stadium?
I think tactically it's going to be a very compelling game. Both teams like to possess the ball. Both teams like to press you. And so it's going to be very positive. I think Columbus gets a lot of possession. They're missing their best player, or they sold their best player, Cucho Hernandez, but they have the best coach in the league. He has plans for it. And much like San Diego, it's not about focusing on a star player. It is about the collective, how the entire team can defend, how the entire team can attack. So it's the irresistible force, the immovable object in the way they play. They like to play in similar ways. But for me, I'm excited because I think it's going to provide a really attractive game, a really wild game. And it's going to be there's going to be some tired players out there. There's going to be a lot of running. It's going to be end to end. It's not going to be a game where I think you're going to see negative tactics. It's going to be go forward the whole time. And I think San Diego playing at home is the cherry on top, which will make it a game that I think not only San Diego fans and Columbus fans will tune into, but I think neutrals will be curious to see how this game plays out. And you add to the fact that they are both unbeaten through 3 games. There's a lot at stake, and then history at stake as well for San Diego as they want to make expansion history by going unbeaten in 4 games to start a season.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't realize that. Max Bretos will be on the call, San Diego FC and Columbus Crew. We've been asking this first month of the season, just on the impact for you. You've covered Major League Soccer for a long time. Now there's a club in San Diego. The support was unbelievable 2 weeks ago for their home opener, as you would expect. But what does San Diego mean for Major League Soccer?
Well, I think that stadium, first and foremost, the biggest soccer-specific stadium is 35,000 feet. So in order to get into that building, they have to know that there's going to be that desire for the locals to come out. But it's, you look at what San Diego's done for so long, fans in San Diego to watch soccer with and cross the border to watch Cholos with Tijuana. I did that a couple times. It's a great day out. So now they have a club that is the entry point to the Mexican League, the Mexican culture. And San Diego has a relationship with Tijuana. They're going to have a game every year. That's, that's hitting the sweet spot because, while we here in the United States are still young and how we follow the game and how we consume the game, in Mexico, it is the number one sport. If San Diego FC and the way they do about business can get young Mexican kids to channel into MLS, that's a game changer. So no other team is doing a lot of what San Diego FC is doing. But it's good that they're not only the proximity to Mexico, but they're doing something about it. They're plugging into that. And that's going to be a eureka moment when kids in Chula Vista and on the border and in Tijuana are interested in MLS clubs because that's a big fan base. So this is a huge moment for the league to have San Diego. It makes you think why didn't it happen a lot sooner? But
Right.
it's here, and not to mention the rivalries, the 2 LA teams, and building California as lion's den for soccer in this country. And me living in LA, I couldn't be more excited about it.
Yeah, it's going to be a great atmosphere tomorrow night at Snapdragon Stadium for their second home match. Are you at the San Diego airport? What airport are you at?
I'm at the San Diego airport.
Okay.
Because the weather, I got a lot of grief because I didn't take the train or the car, but because of this weather, I'm glad I didn't. But it kind of backfired on me because we've been stuck on the tarmac because of the bad weather and all the planes are backed up. So everyone gave me a lot of grief. And I said I would have driven down, but I'm sure on the 5 I would have been driving for 5 hours.
Oh,
and
for
if
sure.
I took the train, I live so close to the airport. If I took the train, I would have to take a long drive to either Fullerton or downtown. So I'm standing by my decision, although I'm a little regretting it here sitting on this plane. We're finally getting off of it.
I didn't even know you could do that. I didn't even know they flew from LA to San Diego.
It took a long, but we were in the air for a grand total of, I want to say 20 minutes. It was,
Wow.
and the plane was completely full. So I wasn't the only fool who thought that.
Amazing.
Smart
Max,
decision.
Yeah, Max, we appreciate you doing it. Should be sunny tomorrow in San Diego. We're looking forward to this match again for our listeners. Of course, you can hear it right here, but you can watch it on MLS Season Pass. Max Bretos will be on the call. Max, thanks for doing it.
Jim, John, anytime, guys. Really
Appreciate
excited
you.
about the game tomorrow and spend some time here, some quality time down here in San Diego.
Terrific stuff. All right, Max Bretos will be on the call tomorrow night. LT wasn't kidding, Jim. It's 20 minutes. It's 20 minutes from. I mean, why doesn't everyone just go to the Charger games? 20 minutes away.
Right. Yeah.
It's great.
It's awesome. You didn't know that?
I don't think I would ever think about flying from San Diego to Los Angeles.
I've done that before.
But as part of an additional route, or that alone?
Part of an additional
That's
route.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I would definitely do it if I was going to like New York City and I had to do it, but I wouldn't do it just point A to point B stuff.
I might heavily consider it.
Would you?
Yeah.
Gotta go through security and you gotta do this and you gotta do
Depends.
that.
It depends.
Yeah.
You know, it depends on just logistics of things.
Yeah.
And
I guess if you're right by the airport or you're going to downtown San Diego, or I could make an argument for the pricing, like if it's affordable.
Yeah, if it was like
it
was
be
between like
$600.
50 and $70 to do it, like I would definitely do it. It's either that or sit on a train for 4 hours or
sit in the car for 6 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Sit in a car for 6 hours and worry about all the other lunatics on the road.
No doubt.
So yeah, at least I did have one time where I was in LA and I was coming, it was a connecting flight, and then I had a flight back to San Diego. But I was in LA and the flight got canceled because of like weather or something. I don't know why it got canceled, but I was stuck in LA and I'm like, I'm this close to home. Like, this is ridiculous. And so I had to take an Uber back from LA because at the time I didn't know about the train and it was so far away. I spent like $180 on an Uber to try back to San Diego.
Wow.
Yeah, because I didn't have a choice. I was like, what
are you gonna do? Walk?
Yeah, I'm either stuck here or I just pay up and get an Uber. It took me forever to get an Uber because no one wants to drive from LA to San Diego. So
true.
It was, and I had to like go away from the airport to get this Uber. So I had to take like a bus to another location. It was just a whole S show.
All right, we're back on the other side for Jim's Back Page here until 6 p.m. Jon and Jim. All right, final time, Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760 on this Friday afternoon. Again, San Diego FC back in the pitch tomorrow night, taking on the Columbus Crew. SDFC undefeated through 3 matches and looking to extend their streak tomorrow at Snapdragon Stadium. Tickets are available at sandiegofc.com. You can hear the match live tomorrow night starting at 7 right here on San Diego Sports 760. If you're going, make sure to look for Jim, because Jim will be in the building tomorrow night trying to keep this unbeaten streak alive for SDFC.
Yes, I will. I'm excited. It's like I don't know what they call it, and probably not nothing in soccer, but it's Tony Gwynn opening day, right? They match day home day match number 2, even though it's match day number 4. But I'm excited to see them actually score a goal at home. Hopefully, knock on wood. And keep picking up another 3 points would be awesome. And as Max said there, I didn't realize that this would be like history tomorrow night.
Yeah.
If
they get to 4 straight unbeaten matches to start an expansion franchise,
4 straight
right?
decisions, that would be incredible.
That'd be really cool. And again, you can hear it tomorrow. Hear it tomorrow right here, San Diego Sports 760 at 7:30. Pre-match coverage will begin at 7 p.m. I kind of like what you said there. I'd forgotten about it. It'd be nice to score a goal. You don't want to go multiple matches at home without scoring. So we'll see if San Diego FC can get on the board tomorrow night. All right, it's time. Let's get to it.
Krispy Kreme, John, is giving away free donuts for St. Patrick's Day weekend.
Okay.
March 15th through the 17th, so that's Saturday through Monday. Krispy Kreme will be giving out free donuts if you just simply wear green.
Wow.
That's it.
I'm wearing green. Look at me.
I know. There you go. You can go to Krispy Kreme this weekend and on Monday, St. Patty's Day, and you can get a free Krispy Kreme donut. Also, on top of that, lucky customers will have a chance to score a, quote, pot of gold pass, which grants 1 free dozen original glazed donuts per month for 12 months.
Wow.
So
you could take advantage of this all green day?
Potentially. I do love me some Krispy Kreme donuts, just original glazed. I don't know. There's just a taste to them that I do like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just wear green, go to Krispy Kreme, and you can potentially, win a pot of gold pass to get a dozen Krispy Kreme donuts 1 time per month for 12 months.
Pretty good.
If you love donuts. So
yeah,
there you go.
Most people do.
Yes. John, did you know that today is Pi Day?
As in it's March 14th.
Yes. It is March 14th.
314. I gotcha.
Yes.
Yeah. So what does that mean? Does that mean we've got promos or offers or?
Yeah.
what?
So here are some special promo deals for Pi Day. All right. BJ's, the restaurant, dine-in guests can buy a Pizookie dessert for just $3.14.
Okay.
Those things are awesome.
Love me some Pizookies.
Yeah, you guys have talked about those before.
Do you know what a Pizookie is, John?
Yeah, it's like a dessert, right? Is it a cookie or a?
It's a cookie.
It's like a big hot cookie with a huge scoop of ice cream on top of it.
Okay. Yeah, very cool.
Very good. Burger King, Royal Perk members can get a free Hershey pie with any $3.14 purchase. Okay. 7-Eleven, 7 Rewards, and Speedy Rewards members can get a whole pizza for just $3.14.
Wow.
Chuck E. Cheese, guests who purchase 1 large pizza will get a medium 1 topping pizza for just $3.14 using the coupon on their website.
Love that.
California Pizza Kitchen, CPK Rewards members can get a $3.14 barbecue chicken pepperoni or cheese pizza with a minimum purchase of $25. And Blaze Pizza is offering a buy one get one deal. Buy one 11-inch pizza and get a second one for $3.14. People who dine in the restaurant can also get a code that unlocks another buy one get one deal. Good anytime in March.
Is that the company we've talked about this before? Is that the one LeBron owns or has some ownership of? Yeah.
That's it right there. And then Papa Murphy's customers will get a 31.4% discount on orders placed online when they use the promo code PIDAY25.
Better than 3.1.4 or whatever, 3.1%
off. Yeah, that would make absolutely no difference whatsoever. So there you go, John. Those are all the deals on Pi Day.
I'll make sure to hit those up tonight in Vegas.
I bet you will. So there you go.
Is that back page?
That was the back page today.
By the way, speaking of all those offers, I spent $60 today at Circus with my son Jones.
Oh my goodness.
Playing arcade and carnival games. And we walked away with like 11 prizes. No joke. I had a bag. I don't know how we're going to get on the plane.
That's right. How you doing that? How you getting on the plane?
We didn't get the big prizes, but we got the medium prizes, and we've got a giraffe and a reindeer and a puppy, and we have everything. We like Circus is going under because of Jones, because of this $60. He won all the prizes, so I don't know if Circus is gonna have to close now.
My biggest question is like, how are you getting that home?
I might drive.
Yeah.
Buy a car. I'm going to buy a car in Las Vegas and drive it home.
Did you see? Speaking of bags on planes, did you see Southwest Airlines' new baggage policy?
What's the deal, man? I took Southwest out here. Did you see the reply?
What reply?
Where he said it's not like we traded Luka.
I did not see that.
That's what they put on social. They're based in Dallas too, so that's super funny.
Oh my goodness!
They're like, guys, we're charging for bags. We didn't trade Luka, but it is annoying because they were like the last of the, they were the last to not do it.
Yeah, it's stupid. Like
it's the worst. It's a way to make money, but it's annoying. You make everyone mad.
Yeah,
just wear the same stuff every day. Be a man.
Yeah, it's a good point. Don't even bring bags.
So anyway, Southwest passengers will begin paying to check baggage for flights booked on or after May 28th.
So we have a little bit of time.
So my question is this. So that means that a trip that I've already booked on Southwest after May 28th, I'm going to have to pay for those bags now? When originally I booked it because I didn't have to pay for a bag?
I don't know the answer to that.
Maybe you'll get grandfathered in.
Because it says Southwest passengers will begin paying to check baggage for flights booked on or after May 28th.
I don't know.
Because I have a flight back home from Hawaii after May 28th that I booked on Southwest that I didn't have to pay for a bag for.
Jim, I wish I knew the answer on that.
I'm going to lose my mind.
I'm going to lose my mind if North Carolina comes back to win this game. They were 21 down. They pulled to within 10, 6 minutes to play.
I am the ultimate jinx.
You could be. All right, we'll be back with you Monday. Full reaction to a Selection Sunday. You can hear that Selection Sunday show right here on San Diego Sports 760 at 3 p.m. Will the Aztecs have their name called? What about UC San Diego? If you missed anything today, sportsSD.com, iHeartRadio app, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, or Spotify. You can find us on social media at Jon and Jim, JONANDJIM. Have a great weekend. For Brent and Jim, I'm John. Keep it here at San Diego Sports 760.
Okay, bye.
Bye.